of all of you all who are a majority affinity group, there has to be at least, I mean, if all of y'all were conscious, is great, but there has to be at least one good ally. What does a good ally do? A good ally creates. Now, you don't have to do this for me because I have divine masculine
put your
energy as
headphones
well.
on.
I have headphones?
There. Oh. Yeah, right there. You can pick yourself up on your mic.
Oh.
Bro, let me check your mic real quick so we can make sure that.
Test.
Can you hear yourself?
No, not really. I mean, through my own.
Yeah, but not through your headphones?
Nope.
You might try to adjust your, push the headphone cable, up in there a little bit. Maybe turn your mic up.
We really doing this. I appreciate the impromptu. Things like this are better for me.
For sure.
So, I'm going to get to the point. I can say this later, but it's about being a good ally. And when you're a good ally, you create, infinity groups, you create space for the outlier affinity, meaning if you see group talking and maybe that person hasn't said anything, you say, do you want to say something? Mm-hmm. You know, if the one that's the job. That's being a good ally is am I going to be the one guy to help the girl? Because someone's going to have to make space to make sure that they're heard. So one, you can make space. The other thing is that you can essentially be an ally in support of. Now, it doesn't mean that you should just pair people and agree with them, but it can mean that you create a neutral zone that makes it a safe place for them to share their point. Be it right, be it wrong, it is their point, and it should feel safe. Now, I don't think I come across as a damsel at all who is requiring of either. But when I say things of like gender, that was really kind of where I put out a white flag of, can I get reason at some point here that you like, that was my spur signal to you, Peanut, of can I get some reason? You know what I mean? Or some neutral space to create understanding, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So for you to take offense to it and then attach it to something that truly wasn't.
I didn't take offense at all.
The tone and the energy said otherwise. So maybe in your heart, no, but in tone and energy,
Let me
yes.
tell you why I had the response that I had. It was because I felt like for what I came in and heard in the 25 minutes I heard you talking, I was saying what I threw out there wasn't just the idea I threw out there to cut you off. It was like, well, Trephouse goes into us having to be entrepreneurial into all of our, everything you're talking about, dealing with mental health, dealing with family dynamics, dealing with, issues with our transportation at the last minute while we just had a great night, you know what I'm saying, doing the grand release. My homegirl Sunny was blowing my phone up when I was in the car saying that, she just got done finding out she don't have to pay no more taxes on her commercial property. Oh. And at the same time, she's down at City Hall. Somebody's calling her saying a drug addict is in the church of one of these buildings that she's downtown taking care of the taxes on and getting an extension on. Right. Like just now, like she was calling me, asking me to go down there with her because she was scared to go down there by herself because she's a single sister, 55 years old, former professor at Sinclair. So I'm like, this feels like it's all the same topic. So I was literally saying everything I heard you say. I think that bookends and kind of umbrellas underneath, like, what does Trephouse mean? Like, we really got to be entrepreneurial and stay on our toes and be adaptive and like all the things we deal with having to change schedules. I was really saying like that makes sense that's a transition because I heard everything you said. So I was frustrated. Like, I don't know where the breakdown is because I feel like we're saying the same thing. That's why I was frustrated. Like, I'm literally saying, sis, I'm not pootie tanging you. I'm saying I feel like we're saying the same thing. And I don't know why it's not clear.
I think you and me are going to have this conversation offline. Oh, because even in Peanut, am I tripping? Did he hear me as far as...
I would have opened up.
Yeah, because I'm like, I still don't think you got my point.
So we can
it's okay.
So, I mean, we talked about something that was very interesting, right? Which is like allies, right?
Yeah.
So, so in certain spaces, right, there'll be a space where, for instance,
Wait, should I keep the headphones on?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The headphones just kind of help you hear yourself a little bit. I mean, it's not a requirement for real.
It's big. Hold on. But, they help me hear me with my tone and stuff. Because I go loud.
Help you just hear a level on yourself.
There are two schools of thoughts when I think about, like the ally portion, right? So, for instance, that's one of the things that, like, I'm not saying specifically Democrats try to do too much inclusion to me. Like, I don't really need someone to hold my hand through that, and maybe that's because I'm just dominant and like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say being dominant sort of excuses you from the need of an ally.
Right. So maybe I'm not the person for this particular topic, but I do remember when I was a minority, when I was like a mechanic at RTA. I'm not saying that about that, but I did feel that like they did try a good job of, you know what I'm saying, of making me included and stuff like that. But it also that dynamic is certain things I don't want to be included in. Like there's certain things I don't want to be a part of. Like when anything black happens in the news, it's like the only black person they know to talk to is me, and they don't know that I'm answering this question at 100 times because there's 100 employees down there. I'm over exaggerating, but it became cumbersome having to always have this. I just wish I had like one platform to say, "Hey, I'm gonna say this one time today," right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I'm having these people that just want to feel like, okay, well, I got a way of talking to you. No, you can talk about everything else that doesn't have anything to do with me being different from you.
So you're right, and it's good. I hope that you express that to your employers because
I did like this.
Well, I mean it in the sense of as a diversity and equity and inclusion trainer and discipline authority, it's on the onus of the corporation to create a space to where there is an affinity group and there is a way to share information to all parts of the company regarding matters that will impact their employees.
But like the social component is something that's not really work related, right? So it's like that's nothing that's none of the company's business. I mean, like when you're sitting around just around the water cooler having conversations, that's not nothing to.
Okay, so these were voluntary discussions.
Absolutely.
That you participated in as a willing participant. Oh, well then you ain't mad then.
Well,
willing participation absolves any anger.
Well, my thing is like, you know, I guess also my frustration is like I am somebody who prides myself on having so many sisters who affirm my allyship with the feminine to the degree that like I can say some of my closest friends and allies and supporters are women. Like, you know, even my COO, who's a middle-aged white woman who's worked with all ranges of men and types, she's like, you're the only man I've never had an argument with. She's like, I've dealt with young, old, black, white, like literally.
But you know what though? What's so funny though? It's like anytime that you have to explain that, like look, bro, I rock with women.
Absolutely.
Like, white people be like, I got a friend, I got black friends.
And that's really what it is. And I'm like, I got so many sisters who would be like, nah, it may be a disagreement, but bro is always careful. And even Sadé has said that, like, you know, you're
Yo, but today was the outlier. I ain't about to fake because he was in the back. He heard our nothing.
And it was cool, wasn't it? Like he didn't get turned up.
I didn't hear nothing.
That's what I'm saying. It was cool. To us, it was turned. But I was like, I know I'm keeping my level down. I'm not using profanity. I'm not dismissing what you said. Like I was careful in all the dialogue at all times to not let it spill into that. So
this is why I rather talk to AI technology, man. You feel me? AI technology not gonna get offended. They do exactly what I tell it to do.
Damn. So you better look at her face. She's like, so you want a slave?
Be turning them up.
You think we supposed to be your slave?
That be turning them up. So how do y'all feel about man versus machine? Start off. Alva, you've been the most quiet.
Right.
I just think that these things are tools, man. You know, I don't think that it's anything for us to necessarily be afraid of. I mean, it's a tool. It's the same type of rationale where people act like guns are bad, which they can do bad, but they can also protect you, you know. So I think AI is what you make it. Just like life, all of these things are whatever we make them into. You know, you get the most positive thing in the hands of a wrong person, they could probably turn it deadly or negative in some type of way.
Absolutely.
So I think that we got the Most High with us, you know what I'm saying? And as long as we got that ace in the hole, we gonna be all right. So I can't see being afraid of it.
I don't think I'm afraid. I know I'm not afraid of it. And I don't think
AI phobic is a thing now.
That's so interesting. But to have a phobia is to have a fear, though. Yeah. So those anyway, it might cause them anxiety or something of the sort. But As far as the AI goes, so artificial intelligence is actually more of mimicry. It's still programmed by humans.
Right.
And the humans who program it are not infallible. And the humans who program it have unconscious biases.
Yeah.
And even the calculator is an AI in this sort that took the job of individuals. So I understand it from like an economic lens as far as why it could be bad on the man versus machine. But when we look at the spiritual lens of it, the issue pretty much is that if we say if the tool is used for good, well, the tool for the creation of America was the institution of slavery via the transatlantic slave trade.
I mean, are you sure that the slave trade took place?
Ooh, that's a good question. I believe that I am sure based on information that I know.
Like what?
Well, information that's specifically in books like, I think it's called
Was there a war in Africa?
There are so many wars in Africa.
Was there a war specifically related to the slaves being gathered up in Africa and then transported to America?
There was never a group war that was specifically done in group outrage.
And how many black people were taken, according to this theory that we came from Africa?
Yeah.
How many black people was taken from Africa to America?
Oh, I can't tell you that number.
Is it in the hundreds of millions?
I can't tell you that number exact.
Is it a million?
Now, if I told you I couldn't tell you that number exact, I'm not here to guesstimate.
All right. Well,
but as far as
how are you? If you can't,
can I tell you my source?
A number.
Can I tell you my source?
Oh, no, wait a minute. Let me talk to you. You can't even tell me a number of how many were taken, but yet you believe it's true. So what do you believe?
I know it's true. Can I tell you why I know?
Many?
No, I know that the slave trade, as it relates to transatlantic, and as it relates to where they sourced in the Ivory Coast, what we call West Africa, what we call Ghana, what we call Sierra Leone, Liberia, Nigeria, I know that actually took place. I know that there was absolutely an extravation of human beings that were taken to the New World. The New World included North America, but it also included South America. There are more blacks in South America than there are in North America. So there is actually only a percentage that was brought here. Now, as far as numbers, I'm not going to make anything up that I know. The reason why I know it happened is because I'm half Nigerian. And, well, then it wasn't called Nigeria. It was called Benin. And what's interesting now is in Nigeria, what was once the entire country and was once also an entire kingdom is now just a city. And the one great war that did take place, that was mostly the extravation of art before they came in to take the people, was the great, it's like the Great Invasion of Benin. And it was of like Great Britain and some other European captains who wrote those ships. And they pretty much went into Benin and ravaged people, ravaged home, ravaged things that artifacts that have only and still are not returned. But the reason why they went against Benin is because they were it was a kingdom. No, so Yorubas come from a majority group that are used to respecting one king. I'm Igbo. Igbos, we come from a group that there are many kings. Why is this good? Why is this bad? So it was bad for the Brit. It was bad for the Portuguese, actually, because they tried to colonize Nigeria first. But what made it bad for them with the Yorubas is that the Yorubas were also the most traditionally educated. So they were educated. They had democracy. They had kings. They had true commodity and true wealth. They had order. They had weapons. Their weapons weren't automated. Their weapons were not guns, but they had these things. The way that the colonizer was able to sneak in was that he did it for almost 20 years and disguised it as trade. He disguised it as trade. And when he disguised it as trade, it became this normalized thing that where even though the dockets that were being signed said what they were supposed to say and the king approved, they worked with the Yorubas first. They worked with the Yorubas first.
Tell me, for 100 years, people gave away people, and the people who were being given away
gave away is not a term that you should not really
I'm-
used. So
I'm
let me
saying,
tell you that
like,
it's not
where-
gave away. It's not gave away.
If it's not a war taking place, then and there's no
The war out
fighting,
here.
There's no. I'm talking about the transatlantic slave.
No,
trade,
but you're
and I
not
don't
saying
wanna
it would. No, you didn't even let me confirm. Like my griot in my village. I'm very close to my village. I've spent summers in Nigeria since I was 13. My grandfather was king of our village, and I come from a big village in Imo State, Owerri City specifically.
And they
My
gave-
griot
they
was
gave away
very.
slaves?
No, they didn't give away, but they educated me on the actual process of how it happened. Actually, what happened was the Great Benin takeover, and then we didn't have the weaponry to fight back, and only the Yorubas were fighting back. And to come off of the Yorubas, because there are more people of Igbo genealogy blood type from America connected to not.
Fight back.
They
Well,
sent
did
them
they-
to the
they had
coastline.
troops? Did they have troops?
No, they normally
Who-
did contract out armies,
The
so they
British
would
had
contract.
troops?
No, they had
So how they couldn't fight
inside
back
tribes.
then?
They had inside groups. They had actually
How
one
many?
specific. They had one specific inside group that they gave weapons to.
You know what?
I mean, I can. I've listened.
Like,
to both
I
of
mean,
these. I can. See
I'm not going to persuade the
fact-
unpersuadable, but
I mean, yeah. I mean, they called the gun the great equalizer for a
Right.
reason. Like
It
they
was-
literally
yeah, I was
came
gonna say,
in
don't-
with
everybody not
gunpowder,
have a
and
gun about
gunpowder
one person
changed
do.
war. Like they weren't
But
ready.
multiple had
unprepared.
guns.
But in regards to AI,
and a lot of them was kidnapping.
AI
it
is
wasn't
still-
giveaway.
100 million kidnappings.
I never confirmed the number. I can't echo that. And
I mean,
and
they
it's not
said
all
it was
kidnapping. I
600
said a lot.
million. No, I'm lowballing by saying 100 million.
I mean, look how
Because
populated
Dr.
Nigeria is
Muhammad
now.
said-
It's projected to go. It's
I'm not
unbelievable.
Dr.
I mean, yeah, it's
Muhammad-
400 million right now, but that's not. I
In its
think
peak when nobody was there.
I think we're going at it too
And
wide
think
without a
about this,
clear
bro.
lens.
There's no slave ships right now. Where are all the slaves? Like, from my math, they stopped bringing Africans from Africa before slavery was actually abolished. But it was like 100-year span of this. You would have had to bring in and capture over 100. I had the calculated math, so I think I got one figure just so I'm not exaggerating. Okay, you would have had to capture over 100 people. I got another figure that's over 1,000, but just so I'm not exaggerating, over 100 people every day for 150 years with no war. That is consistency, bro. Rounding up 150 people with no war being fought.
You know what?
I
I
don't
think
see it.
your point is equally as valid now when you look at the populations of Black in America. When you look at the populations of Black in the world, but let's stay on America. We feed all industries, but we don't own one. And in a world where capitalism is king, then technically that means war happens with your currency, war happens with your ownership of assets, etc.
Morale,
So technically,
culture,
it's a war right now.
culture war.
And we absolutely aren't actually fighting. We're getting in prison.
Nutritional
we
war.
don't own the grocery store. We don't own the water supply. We don't operate and
Propaganda
own
war.
the schools. We don't we don't even know we at war.
So that's the point. So going back,
I don't even want to go into
I'm a person who
transatlantic.
believes.
Let's talk about now.
I think
Right.
technology can be used to our advantage to give us the edge that we need if we use it properly. And yes, it's going to come to fruition. They're having all these talks about it. I've been a technologist and been fortunate to be immersed in that world since the 80s when my brother was, learning and teaching me software engineering and, hardware assembly and all the good things. So I was working with computers and such before I could walk. And it gave me this purview, even growing up in Five Oaks, to where I was always on the bleeding edge of technology. Like to where now it's just natural to know about all the things going on because I'm so attuned to it. So with that, it's like, I see the dangers of AI, and it's like they've made movies about it for years. Like they've talked about it. It's been a thing. This is not new. We're just now reaching like quantum computing, where if AI is doing this with digital computing, what it's going to be capable of when it is quantum computing, it will have sentience. And they are working hard to figure out quantum computers right now to where, it operates on not the binary 1 or 0, it's 1 and 0. So it can do exponentially more calculations in the same amount of time with a quantum computer than you ever could with a digital system. So once they figure that out and they're close to that and they embed AI in it, it does have the potential for it to really say what the danger is of it being like, you know what? It don't make sense to have y'all around. Y'all done basically gave all the control to this technology that's really as AI rudimentary. I can take over the stock markets. I can take over the
let
food
me
systems.
ask
Like
you
it can
this.
literally decide.
Well, let me ask you this. What is the worst thing that could happen to a human being from AI technology?
I got the top 5 right here.
No, wait a minute. Just what is
I could say it can completely disrupt the food systems. It can disrupt the financial markets. It can
But
disrupt.
after that, I'm saying like even if so, let's say it does disrupt the food system, then what would happen to a human being?
We would literally have to figure out how to make sure people can eat who become accustomed to
What
an
about if we
artificial.
couldn't? What is the worst thing that can happen?
People
to a
starving to death. It only takes 2
human-
weeks.
and then so people would
Die. Trip or die.
they would
Absolutely, Trevor
Die.
died. They would
What? They
die.
would what?
They would die.
Okay.
So then we just gone
So
as
we
a
die.
species.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
And
Like
the elephants take over.
exactly.
But
And that's just the sunrise
but
sunset.
what does it matter?
That's the point. It doesn't because it's been other human species that preceded Homo sapiens that have died out. Like we're just the
What
most
does it
recent
matter,
one.
bro?
So
Like-
it's no telling. Like another what we saw with Planet of the Apes. That could
what
really
about
go
if-
down.
What about if AI doesn't take over? Then what's gonna happen?
I compiled this list for a reason.
I got you.
If it doesn't take over,
What
it can
happens?
literally create an efficiency we've never seen and allow people to really get into what their purpose is, not just doing drudgery work for the sake of supporting the capitalistic system.
Look, hold on. But I think I want you to. I'm trying to get you to say something else.
I mean, what? What?
Look, if AI takes over and does all of this terrible stuff, the possibility is that humans will die.
Absolutely.
But what about if they don't? What has been happening to humans from the beginning of time?
They adapt.
They what?
Adapt.
They what?
Adapt.
They adapt, but ultimately they die.
Absolutely.
We all die.
So, what I think is like, you know what I'm saying? Like everything got a beginning and an end, but what matters is in the middle.
Indeed.
And then,
Journey.
you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not up to fight death that much.
Oh, I'm completely come to grips with my mortality. I'm not a person that's like I'm trying to freeze my head and trying to live forever. I know my time. I'm just like let's go hard while we're here. Let's go hard while we're here. That's all I'm saying. Like let's go hard as fuck while
Right, I
we're
was gonna
here.
say, but I ain't no folder. I ain't scared of death, but I ain't gonna fold neither.
Yeah, it's not just
You
like
ain't
going
gonna kill
really just jumping off a
I ain't gonna
cliff.
be easy to
He's not a
kill.
folder, but I compiled a folder.
He always on a bar. He always on a bar.
Top 5 risk of AI, right? These are the harmful things like they can do, right? Disinformation and propaganda, right? And I'm doing this to be facetious because I have some different theories as well, right? Number 2 is deepfakes, right? To where we don't know what's real or not, right? So that type of thing right there can cause all type of just think of media right now, right? Which we already have this going on right now with CNN and our news is already
Yeah, it's full of
Absolutely.
propaganda.
but imagine it now being to a point where you do not know the difference between the two, right? Number 3 is cybersecurity threats, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Where people like, for instance,
Getting
so
worse.
imagine right
Yeah.
now, so for instance, like cyber threats right now, we all do online banking right now.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah.
Imagine now a hacker has AI on their side to now forget killing you. I'm gonna make you suffer and it be
Everything
I
at
go
zero.
right up. The moment that check hit, he can go hit it. Like,
Right.
come on, AI. Figure out our passwords, right? And then you know what I'm saying.
And every new account he creates be on his ass.
Number 4 is autonomous weapons, right? So we already have
Absolutely.
you know what I'm saying, like a pull, press this button just in case.
Right.
This is controlled by computers.
Absolutely.
And they got robot dogs now.
Come on now.
Absolutely.
Boston
Dynamics.
Boston Dynamics. Number 5 is security and your privacy invasion, right?
Indeed.
But I say all to say is we already deal with these things already,
Right.
right? Like, for instance, how many of y'all believe eating carrots actually improves your eyesight?
I mean, I know it's trivial.
Well,
I mean,
Well,
I do. I kind of do.
well, so
I've heard it to be true, so
So-
I can't.
Davy's talking about it's a hybrid and all that and sugar
no,
based and
so
I probably it's probably real.
that is propaganda created by war. What happened was they dropped pamphlets to say that carrots improved the U.S. fighter pilots' eyesight, is how they're able to shoot with precision. Well, really, they had radar. They didn't want nobody know they had radar.
Right.
So they told them that the U.S. pilots were a strict diet eating carrots. That's where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
Number
wait, what's radar?
the technology with the boop, boop, like when they're so then you got the dot.
It's like deepfakes, right? So deepfakes is where you can't tell one or the other.
Absolutely.
Listen, I'm down for the porn, man. Listen, if you give me a Rihanna that looks like it's real, I'm watching it. You're not.
No, I'm not. But what you're gonna create is like, even people are gonna basically be held captive, like you said. They can be held captive with the capacity of AI speeding up, like it's a catalyst for people being able to do the criminal elements. But it also has a propensity for me to release people from, like I said, trivial work, because so many of us are in a capitalistic loop where we are the bottom base or the middle base or maybe even the upper base, but we're still not the peak. So we still have some degree of suffering for the 1%. Like, we all know that. So I'm like, this creates. Okay. When I say 1%, I mean the ones who are like, we need people working because we don't want you to be free.
All benefit from capitalism?
No.
So did you walk here?
We benefit and suffer.
Wait. Did you walk here?
We benefit and suffer.
You got inside of a
both.
German engineered vehicle.
My answer is Kemo's answer.
What?
I said we benefit and suffer. It's it's the balance sheet. It's asset and liability.
Yeah.
Yep. That's capitalism. Like, it's like the brotherhood, Full Metal Alchemist.
Don't
like,
we go through that in any facet of life, such as you're going to suffer to work out in order to be stronger?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So there's always gonna be a trade-off.
Absolutely.
Well, no, then we have our choice in how we trade off, and that's where capitalism.
Do you conserve your own water, or do you buy water?
That's a good point. It doesn't value all aspects. It's just very much so transactional.
No, I'm talking to the people.
Hard
Is
industrial.
there a place that we could go where capitalism is not the law of the land?
There's places that enclaves and communities that have tried to make surrounding.
Micro communities.
There are. There's people like that's
the goal is to have regenerative communities.
There's groups doing eco villages. Yeah, have you heard of eco villages? Eco villages are designed to really create a situation where it's so completely regenerative.
Is that inside America?
Yeah. People are doing eco villages. That's what Kanye was talking about. Like, he wasn't crazy when he was talking about like building his own community. He was like, I want to create a regenerative community.
If you're not going to walk there, you're going to use capitalism to get there.
We might take a hike, might take a trip, get on some Forrest Gump shit.
Well, I don't know. I think the way that the lens on it generally is just, I don't know, a little upside down for me, because I look at it as human capital versus non-human capital. Mm-hmm. And when I say versus, I don't even want to say versus first. I want to say you have human capital and then you have the byproduct, which is non-human capital. A byproduct can never be equal to its product. Mm-hmm. So if human capital is made up of our spiritual, cultural, intellectual, and experiential moments of our life that give us something that turn into the social and the financial and can leverage the living to achieve the material, that's fine, but they don't weigh the same. Mm-hmm. But in humans, we exist to have dominion. So to intentionally...
I'm question about that. So if I trade somebody 2 chickens for them to mow my grass for 6 weeks.
That's great. If that's all they need to keep doing.
I'm capitalizing on the fact that he can physically do it.
No, you're not. It's all he needs is. So,
capitalism.
All he might need is. I spent too much time in villages in Africa.
GPT.
Like,
was
everything is a matter of just.
We can boil capitalism down to land and labor. It's all about land and labor.
What do people find most negative about capitalism? Because
its goal is to capitalize on land and labor.
What Peanut does, though, honestly, he looks at the basic tenets of capitalism to just say, if somebody got something to sell, they sell it and they make money off of their idea and innovation.
Absolutely.
Right? But there is a deeper problem with that than just what he's looking at on the surface. So we'll let him read some of the things that people got a problem with capitalism. Because I don't know what's the problem. What's the problem with capitalism?
So economic inequality, right? Which is one of the main criticisms of capitalism, is the tendency for wealthy and the powerful to concentrate in the hands of a few, leading to significant income and wealth and inequality. And then when I say back to the people that are saying these other forms of currency, then why are you so focused on just the monetary portion of life? Right?
Nobody's, but that's not true.
I'm asking. If this is the number one problem with capitalism is people
Oh,
have
is that
more
what's
money
where's
than
that
people.
poll from? Is this of America? Are these Americans? I mean, who did the poll? Where?
Cite
where's
your
it from?
source. She's saying, you know, she on that.
Yeah,
Like,
like,
cite your
what-
source.
Because it's only going to offset the whole point.
Yeah.
But the point doesn't it's null and void without a reliable source. Well, wow, talk about us
asked me to look
Full circle moment.
He told
I
me
mean,
to ask
everything
AI.
could be
He told me
skewed.
to.
There's no quality control there, but
Well, here's what I'll say. Like for me, like I told people, like to me, there's a difference between capitalism and entrepreneurship. They aren't synonymous. There is a difference. Capitalism in and of itself is about really looking at the land and the labor, because everything we look at, everything we use comes out the earth. Somebody has to mine it out. Somebody has to process it. Somebody has to package it up, make it look pretty, and then sell it. Get it there to the destination, all the logistics. It's a whole supply chain. But
They
in
should
that,
be compensated for all of that
well,
work.
hold on. But capitalism, in its way that it's practiced, is one where it tries to underpay those people because they still have to make a profit in the company, and so that means that it ends up being a thing of like, well, let us shave a little bit more off of their pay. Let us take these benefits down a little bit more, where it becomes most companies are not really thinking about the people who make it
I'll give you a
possible.
prime example.
But entrepreneurship, hold on. Entrepreneurship solves the problem. Entrepreneurship is about looking in your situation or somebody who you love situation and saying, I want to solve a problem. And oh, by the way, this is a money making opportunity. Capitalism leads with like, I can make money off of this.
Is there a difference between entrepreneurship and capitalism?
Absolutely.
Oh, it is.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's like you said. It's a difference.
False, because like for instance,
It's a
he
difference.
says, go ahead.
Would you?
I want to know this.
He says entrepreneurship.
no, and there's a gross difference, and I can say I can say it because I was accountable to the otherwise. So,
For someone
capital
to say-
capitalism only considers scarcity thinking. It means keep more, give less. Anytime the measurements are keep more, give less, it's a hoard mentality. It's a scarcity thinking mentality. Slavery again was another example of they thought they could do a one-time purchase and updates, and it didn't work. They wanted to keep more and they wanted to give less while maximizing on a big market like cotton. The reason why an entrepreneur can not be a capitalist is because I was operating as a capitalist entrepreneur, as a separatist. But actually, entrepreneurship is truly good for any community when it's done in group economics. So I actually, in truth, operated as an entrepreneur in group economics because I've always really worked in my silos. And I would subcontract out small, but never like integrated anybody in daily. Whereas here, you all do shirts, you have employees. So this is once you start to add employees and you start to add more individuals whose lives are literally updating on a daily basis because of what you're doing, now that's entrepreneurship that is
Capitalist?
no,
Get your-
that's not capitalist.
No.
That's the non-capitalist. The non-capitalist entrepreneur operates in group economics. The capitalist entrepreneur is a separatist.
Like, let me pay people less and make them think it's less.
The reason why we in war is because they're fine with separatists being out here. They're fine with me being out here and living my life and whatever. But
What's a separatist?
a separatist is someone who thrives well on their own. Capitalism only supports space for the elite and for separatists.
Individualism
It
is
does
very
not support
individualistic.
space for group
And it's
economics.
in the way that they've been
It's
practicing.
narrow. It's
very
not.
narrow.
It's not a practice that is sustainable for the
Facts.
group to win.
It's not capitalized. Capitalized for a reason.
Can I please
That's the bar.
One time,
To quote Peanut, that's the bar.
Yeah.
Number one, y'all all cap. Because listen here, there's the thing y'all can do. Ride share is one. Two is ride the damn bus. All of y'all driving. You know why? For your own convenience. So you enjoy the spoils of capitalism. You can't ride the bus. Could you not ride the bus?
Wait, when you say convenience,
Could you ride the bus?
It's not just to be sitting around going to the strip club. Like, I use my car to get the meetings more efficiently. I could, but here's my reason I don't. Not because I'm too
I
good.
ride
Because
my bike a lot, actually, and now that it's nice outside, I'm gonna be riding my bike again.
She's
So
out today with-
I ride my bike a lot.
She's not driving
but
the
here's
bus.
what I'm saying. I'm saying the reason I don't is because.
But I'm not negating
But-
what I.
Everybody bends
But
out.
hold on. I don't because the bus takes so long. They even talk about
Opportunity
the cost of being poor is
Right.
things like having to take the bus and having to leave
Right.
3 hours early to get to things when it only really
Right.
takes you 15 minutes. So it's not being
Right.
capitalistic.
Right.
Literally, our system
Being
is
efficient.
designed
Let-
for the
But
poor.
efficient is capitalistic
Can I-
because efficient is sustainable.
Well, efficient is
Sustainable
natural
in a
human
way
tendency.
capitalistic.
Well, wait a
Humans are naturally
Wait a
designed to
minute.
try to create tools to make things easier. We've
Yeah,
been doing
right.
that since
That's
before. It's
why
about
we
making
exist.
money.
That
We
right,
made
right.
hammers, we made fire,
create to
not to make
increase
money off
profit.
fire, but for us to stay warm.
Would you guys consider most car companies?
Oh my gosh.
Would you consider most car companies?
That y'all didn't even listen to what he just said.
Let me.
It's cool, you know. I love the.
Wait, no. Just as a build. Now, wait. Would you guys consider most car companies, to piggyback on what Peanut is saying, as capitalist companies?
Most, yes.
Yes.
Most?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there any that are not?
There are some
There
that
are
have
some
an impact
that are
focus,
not.
like
Yeah,
not,
that
like
are-
making
the
cars that aren't
y'all
just.
drive, do you think that those companies are
Different
capitalist?
question. Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yes?
Different question. Yes.
Both of the cars that you guys drive are ran by capitalists?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And if you buy those cars, are you supporting capitalism at that point?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So you're furthering the agenda of capitalism.
No, hold on. Here's my response to
Survival
that.
is to further any agenda in a system. You
I
don't
just said we
control.
all use tools. Before
We
with
all
cars,
use
we had
tools.
hammers. We had things that we made out of rudimentary objects, and that's we just found a way to refine that. Instead of it being a stick tied to a rock with some string, we actually can go get a hammer from Ace Hardware. So we are naturally inclined as human beings to try to find ways to make life more efficient. That's not a capitalistic thing. We didn't go into doing that stuff to make money. It was like, I need fire. I need to stay warm.
capitalism help.
No, capitalism was somebody who came along and was like, what if I sold? Hold on. It was like, what?
Capitalism.
No, hold on. Capitalism.
Capitalism make life more convenient for people.
So convenient
At
is
the,
not
but I'm
always
saying, but
good.
a lot of times at the expense of the environment
the warmer thing.
or the humanity,
The
because
fire
there's people
thing.
who are making things in China that we use daily. That's
But what good
sweatshops,
would
child
the
labor.
environment be- What good would the environment be if we couldn't efficiently take care of the shit that we got to do?
We could, but people are like, because it doesn't
What
make
good
sense.
though are we to the environment if we keep a one-sided relationship like that?
Absolutely.
We need it just as much as it needs us.
Absolutely.
What do you
It's a very delicate balance.
We
Do
have
y'all know we
abusive
passed 7?
relationship
So you
with
think-
planet and,
so
and
you're telling me that cars aren't abuse of the environment?
absolutely emissions
Well,
is
why do you
absolute
use it then?
because I operate efficiently in a
I'm working
sustainable
diligently.
economy.
I'm working. Hold on.
Sustainable economy.
Not at all. Because my thing
in
is,
a sustainable
I've been.
economy. I will survive, and I am I am a winner, and I will not
Let me
win.
ask you something.
Winning is efficient.
Let me ask you.
Right.
something. Do you? Let's go to another level.
Okay.
About things that you absolutely will not support, no matter what. No matter what.
Yeah.
Are there
agree.
things out here?
Yes.
Give me one.
All right. So
No matter if it benefited you or not.
Mm-hmm.
Would you sell drugs to kill somebody? I mean, would you kill your community by selling drugs?
no,
Never.
But would it make your life more convenient if you didn't get caught?
no,
It would
Would
matter.
it make your life more convenient if you didn't get
No.
caught, but
No.
you could become a millionaire from selling
no.
drugs?
I could have
No.
been a millionaire.
Right.
I could have
Wait,
no,
wait,
like
wait,
no,
wait.
like I'm
Wait,
saying.
I'm
this
saying
is my
no.
own check. No,
I've had a chance.
Wait a
Sorry,
minute,
Kemó,
wait
talk.
a minute. Wait a minute now.
More
Wait a
capital.
minute.
It's not at
Wait
all.
a minute. I'm not talking about. Let's say that. All right.
Are you what you're
I don't
saying
know
is
what
sell
position- I
morals?
don't know
No,
what
you're
position
saying
guys-
cash for morals.
Let's say
You're
you
saying
didn't-
cash for morals.
Exactly. I'm saying
You're
no.
literally saying cash for morals, and we're saying no.
Right.
It's also a drug, y'all.
Cash for morals, no.
Right.
Cash for morals. Sade, no. Sade, you gonna go be that billionaire side chick? No.
Right.
Sade, no,
wait a
no,
minute.
because
I'm
no, it's
saying-
cash
But there's
for
a
morals.
line. Everybody has a
No,
line.
there's cash for morals. You're gonna go in there and you're gonna tell a
That's
lie
what
on
I'm saying.
TV.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? There's a line between capitalism and
So you don't
entrepreneurship,
think
and there's a blurred line.
Capitalism ain't as bad as selling drugs.
No, capitalism
It's a
includes selling
form.
drugs.
It's a form.
It's a form of it.
Okay.
Y'all
So
support
are you
both.
participating?
I don't
participating in it?
Listen.
I don't support
unless
There's
capitalism.
some
or-
stuff you will participate in, no matter if it made your life more convenient or not.
You know what's so sad is that, and I'm gonna say this and just I'm gonna stop talking.
It's like the glaring contradiction between, first of all,
We don't exist to we
No one
exist to
is-
create and increase efficiency.
wait,
But
wait.
honestly, what you
That's
said
it.
with the fire, honestly, I
Now,
can't say
come on,
anything
y'all
else.
That's what I'm saying. They're not doing
No,
shit
like-
closer to that.
Oh
like-
my God, bro! I got
We
a whole
exist-
clip. Two things of this. First of all, we already proved that you guys entertain capitalism on one level. Number two is
Yes.
we indulge
For
in
survival.
420. We indulge in 420. Where are you getting it from?
For survival.
Absolutely.
Where are you getting it
Absolutely.
from?
But here's the difference. Hold on.
Where are you getting it from?
Listen.
Where are you getting it from?
Listen.
I'm asking you a
I'm about to
question.
answer your
Are you
question.
getting it from a pharmacy or are you getting it from
If-
a...
I'm about to answer
If
the
you're
question.
getting it
Can I
from
answer the
somebody
question?
who lives local to your community,
Can I answer a question?
If you're getting it from somebody local, it's a regenerative act.
Here's what I'm saying. My
It's
point is,
not
hold on. I'm about to fuck that whole point up. Listen.
Oh, I'm down.
My whole thing is, at the end of the day, because of the policies in place, which are inherently racist and benefit the capitalist powers that be, marijuana is a plant that can grow in any environment. Hold on. Listen what I'm saying. Listen what I'm saying.
That's the capital that you spoke today.
Listen what I'm saying. All these things grow out the environment because there's somebody who rather control that market and make money off of it. They won't allow you just to grow tobacco in your backyard. I would love to grow tobacco in my backyard. I would love to grow weed in my backyard and shrooms and all that shit with no restriction. But the policies in place that are inherently racist and based off the capitalistic structure make it to where I can't grow something that they didn't make. How can you tell me I can't grow something in nature that was here before any of our motherfucking asses? How? Because the capitalism.
But wait a minute.
Entrepreneurship is like.
Why do you let that law stop you, but doesn't let the law stop you from partaking in it? Because
bro, I'm working to get to Colorado so I can just do this shit free.
Why not just grow it yourself?
I'm working to get to Colorado to set up camp to do that. Like I'm working. I'm moving towards trying to solve the problem.
If you're in the
which is why I do the container shit.
You have to participate in the economy to an extent. You can't completely remove yourself from
it.
Right. The only way to completely remove yourself from an economy is to leave that economy altogether, and that means going overseas.
But there is such a thing as called a conscious capitalist. I'm a conscious capitalist.
Nice.
In the sense that that's why I say.
I like that. Come on, tell me more.
Absolutely. So I'm like, I believe that capitalism in its pure sense, whether it's that, socialism, or communism, that's really just a form. They're all forms of monetarism, which involve having a central currency that makes it easier than bartering for goods and services. Outside of that, it's clean, it works. But once you get humans involved who are greedy, who have
the conscious capitalist practices group economics.
Absolutely.
The conscious capitalist practices mutual equity and power
in consideration of the environment
and reciprocity into the universe.
Making it things that are regenerative.
That's what the conscious capitalist practices.
How can we fight?
I'm gonna say that. If my goddamn idea don't be fucked up, you're not getting no portion of the fuck my idea was.
So where you're not wrong, because I operated as a separatist capitalist for all my career. I hear you as far as, but that's because you're doing the bulk share in the beginning, which I fully understand. There's space there though to share equity and to share ownership. So even what it is that they do, even if it's only a portion of that, not equal to yours, but a piece, to feel like they are connected in a way of ownership is a positive practice for sustainable outcome. And when dealing with an employee, still to your point, it'll support in your retention because iron is expensive.
That's your point. And the way that some capitalists have already made this road for you already is before, like, you ever see somebody say, hey, we're sponsored by this and the third, and they have their own QR code or their own code like that, so you can be paid based off your own performance.
Absolutely.
But that's something the capitalists invented also.
But I'm saying conscious capitalism
convenience
is such. But I'm saying conscious capitalism. Conscious
capitalism, I think, is a good way to preamble it.
I'm big on facts and figures. They found that in studies around entrepreneurship, the idea only accounts for 4% of the total value of whatever is produced.
What's worse, somebody who litters?
I think that's some
4% the idea, because if all you have is an idea you put on the table, that idea doesn't just manifest and grow to life and turn into something. It has to be real work applied. And if we're at this scale, you have to add other people to be involved. And I believe wholeheartedly in giving equal value in those early team members, because if you have the mindset of group economics, I have it, she has it, we all have it, and we make a company together and make $1 billion thing, and then we can take our $250 million each and create some shit where we can do that over and over again. But I'm saying most capitalists are really like, let me try to figure out a way to get that, and then fuck all these other three out the deal. Ultimately, I'm saying we see people talking about it all the time, like running off with the bag.
What about good hood?
Absolutely. The goal is to create a good hood.
So listen, again, right? Capitalists. Would you consider Jeff Bezos a capitalist?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's also a lot of bullshit going on with Amazon.
Wait. All right.
Yeah, and their work culture has super.
Name one of the most humanitarian people that you could think of who's not a millionaire, right? Like that good person that's down there handing out Bibles down there on 3rd and Main Street, right? He's a good person, right?
Mm-hmm.
He does not How much money have Jeff Bezos actually donated to charity?
But there's books around about billions. And listen. There's books around the idea of philanthropy being a way to
billions.
Listen.
Billions of dollars.
And with that, there's whistleblowers.
Help people.
But there's whistleblowers who are directly calling out the fact that philanthropy in and of itself is so toxic that they're literally donating money to clean up their messes. They aren't donating money because they give a fuck. It's literally like, we can't excuse that. That's the difference between conscious capitalism and just pure like whatever goes. We'll clean it up in the later sense and maybe.
Drug dealers would buy turkeys for the hood. People still going out there getting it.
And it's not okay.
It was cool.
But people are gonna go and capitalize in a system that's like there's free turkeys out there. We hungry. We're not gonna let the
person that's giving out free Bibles down there is more edifying for the people than somebody who's actually donating.
I believe there's a problem with all of it. The idea of white Puritan Christianity being our salvation and us getting there once we sacrifice on this plane and we'll get in the afterlife because we was good, humble stewards. Like, I don't believe in that either. Like, that's the difference between Jewish and, Jewish Christianity and our Christianity. And they make it clear is that their Christianity believes to be poor and be suffering is the sin.
Wait, can we say the word Jewish and Christianity?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a form.
I've never heard of Jewish Christianity.
In the sense of like it's. I'm sorry. Abrahamic faiths. Abrahamic faiths. I'm sorry. But Judaism and Christianity, the difference is Judaism believes, and it was a Jewish brother that was talking about this when the whole thing was going on with Kanye. Like, we believe it's a sin to suffer. We believe it's a sin not to be able to be a pillar in our community and not to create wealth amongst our peers. We believe that if one of us makes money and somebody else and multiple people don't, that's the sin. So all the things that other people are doing in this individualistic, capitalistic thing that Kanye is basically calling out and saying we need to be more like Jewish, it wasn't offensive to us because we absolutely operate like that. It's not a bad thing. Like, y'all are wrong for living and suffering and thinking in this white Puritan way. On this earth, on this plane, we do this and sacrifice, and we'll be benefiting in the afterlife one day. Like, he's like that. We don't believe in that.
So, what's worse for the black community?
What's
Christianity or capitalism?
Both. Because Christianity itself was predicated on capitalism.
To spread capitalism.
They came in with Bibles for gold. They came in with the missionaries. Before the trade people came in, the missionaries came in with Bibles. Like, do y'all know about God? Let me get some of them gold rocks out the river that y'all don't even think there's any value in. And
I need y'all to give more value to Africa, and I'm gonna represent Africa
I am too. I'm like,
right now because
it's land and labor. They still doing it. Like, we're still
on YouTube. We
got
there's still slavery going on right now today on a huge level.
She said we will find another way to survive. Talking about earlier, she said duality of life and family. That's what Greg West just said. So yeah,
no doubt. Peace, Greg. Peace, God.
You two rocking with us, man.
Absolutely.
Rocking with us, man. So
I love people got the point.
Going on,
we don't need to put the
but Africans are like, yo, did y'all see when one of the countries, whoever does all the cocoa, was basically like, yo, they made that announcement with Nestle and flipped it on them like, yo, we no longer need y'all services in manufacturing and processing the cocoa out of our environment. We thank you for the 200-300 years of your business. The president of the country made this declaration, like, we're done for the sake of us, like, really figuring out how we control what we can get out of our own land with our own labor and benefit from it, not be minimizing the value so you all can have a markup cost when you get it to America, wherever you're selling it at. So, like, capitalism is about scarcity. It's about underpaying always every chance you get to try to get more profit.
Highest profit margin.
At like all kinds of costs. It's a sliding scale.
So for instance, right?
Yeah.
Let's think of something I think of as someone that is a capitalist, right? A capitalist is a person who is making money and not giving back to anything going on, right? That is
No, that's not what we said.
Don't land it at that because
that's not what we said.
Okay. Or someone who is marking things up astronomical and making.
I didn't say that we didn't say that either.
That's not it either. It's about a profit margin share.
It's a mindset around like maximizing and minimizing.
Exactly. Profit margin share of, for instance, let's say I'm a water boy.
Okay.
I'm a water boy. I'm right there on the corner right now and I'm selling water. I'm buying a case of water for a price and I'm marking it up because you're hot and it's 92 degrees outside and I'm selling it for a profit.
But you use the word astronomical.
I mean, it's in the very word to capitalize. It's literally to like see something and be like, oh, they slipping. Let me pull down on them because they sleeping. Like,
back to the word. Bring them back. Show them a little bit while you doing the stuff in the back.
Absolutely.
If you're in Dayton, Ohio, you don't have AC in your car. I have a bottle of water right here ready for you.
Yeah, capitalizing. I mean, but capitalizing has never been used in positive.
But capitalizing is cats pulling up the fees and be like, yo, dance for this $20. Go walk up these crates for $20 so we can laugh.
Bro,
Like at its worst, rawest, like that's what I'm saying. Like where it's like we getting a laugh because we getting a person who's out their mind from what they going through to go out there and have bump fights. You know what I'm saying? Like all that kind of stuff, all that stuff, the dog fights, all that. It's like you got animals that you put in the ring to fight. So I'm like, I'm the person where I really abhor a lot of the things that we you know, like it's horrible, bro. Like it's raw.
Like we had a conversation the other day, man, talking about, you know, just because you can do something, man, doesn't mean that you should.
And a lot of capitalists don't respect it. That's what we saying is like most capitalists like if I can and I see how
I that like
it's not integrous. It's not restorative.
And it got to the point where I was like, man, you know, the things that we sit around and accept now is just
because they gonna push the line
out here
for views. They gonna push the line for a little bit more profit. They gonna push the line like.
Got nothing to do with what I'm talking about with capitalism, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm just talking about just like what's acceptable. Mm-hmm. You know, like
that's why I said capitalism is pure in its purest sense. It's cool, just like socialism, communism. They all work on paper. When you put the human dynamic in and the propensity to be greedy and be fearful and create situations where you want to control it, it doesn't matter which system you put into place. Human beings are the problem, technically.
Bro, well, let me say this though, man. From what I see. Man, in order to be truly wealthy, you do have to don't give a fuck. And you got to be a thief. You got to have some griminess.
Ruthlessness.
To another level.
Absolutely.
And if you do give a fuck, then you're like, you playing a game that's not for you.
Absolutely.
You know, that's why, man, like, good people that's got good hearts and really want to see the best for everybody, they're going to see themselves with an uphill battle. Absolutely. And the people that are the richest, like banks and
insurance companies,
man, like these companies like rob all the time. Man, my bank, they capitalize on overdrafts.
Most of their profits, 75% of their profits, overdraft fees.
And it's they, you know, man, like I've told my bank, for one, like I've just stopped keeping money in a certain account.
Absolutely.
Just because I know that it's an open door for all of the people that I've either paid bills to or this, that, and the third, right?
To snatch something and have you overdraft in the chain 3 or 4 things. And it's like, what?
Man, they just want to hit licks. And
Absolutely.
So I called the bank and said, hey, man, look, bro, if I don't got the money, deny the charge.
Absolutely.
If I don't got the money in there, don't accept that charge.
Right.
They continue to do it.
Oh, yeah. If it's ACH, if it's already an ACH setup, they like, we can't stop it. Sorry. I'm like, there's no way with the technology today. Y'all got AI and you can't stop that charge. Stop, bro.
But even with that, though, so they give you mobile banking in order to just kind of keep an eye on what you got in there, right? So I pinned them down and they told me that, well, you can't really depend on the mobile banking because if you got this, that, and the third.
It's delayed and all that.
So look, bro, this is how wicked they are, right? Man, I told them, I said, well, look, I want you guys to go back from the day I started my bank account. And I want you to tell me every overdraft fee that I had. You know, they told me they can't.
Right.
I said, well, wait a minute now. I got a little weak ass website and I got analytics on there.
Right.
And I can look up anything that I want on my website so I can see how my sales were, where the sales came from. I can look up my demographics. I can look up who bought what. I can see what customer's history is from the time he first bought something from me and how many times he's been a repeat customer. They was like, well, we can only go back a year.
A financial institution that has the
reason
everything is about down to the penny, but you can't find it because
the reason why is it's getting magnified when they show you how many times they've got you.
It's an incriminating thing where they like, yo, it's the whole game, and that's the point we saying. Like that's really the whole desire is like, can we stick you?
It doesn't stop there, man. The richer people that I deal with, the more corrupt they are.
Absolutely,
man. My jewelers. Terrible, bro.
Absolutely.
Every time that I've looked at an invoice, and this is so bad on me, bro, because man, I get caught up in being so busy with the busyness of customers in a day,
and that's what we saying is that life and causes us to be like we're compelled to have to participate to some degree because the system won't respect. You have to have a degree of ruthlessness, and even Machiavelli in The Prince. I tell people about this all the time. I saw this breakdown of that book, and people think that book was about how to be ruthless and a tyrant. That's not what that book was about. It was about a prince whose father, the king, had died, and he came into the heirship. It was the heir apparent, and he ended up rising to the heirship. And his advisor, most trusted advisor, was telling him like all this cool lovey-dovey kumbaya type shit you on as a kid and all that, like that's not gonna work. Right. If you want to be good and be effective, you have to be as ruthless or more ruthless than evil. That book was about how to be a good intentioned, but still having to go to the same nefarious ends for goodness that evilness does, because you'll never beat it on moral clause alone. And he said the only example was Jesus Christ, and it was only through divine intervention that Jesus won. He's like, that's the only instance where the good guy won really in real life, and that's because God intervened and was like, all right, you sacrifice yourself, you done enough, come on. Like, so everybody else lost.
At the end of the day, he was murdered.
Exactly.
All right, so listen. So this is something that I think we all put the thinking cap on just for 20 seconds, right?
Mm-hmm.
The things that we indulge in, the things we go to, even the bank, right? These places, we're all business owners. All of us are business owners, at least, right? To the point where we understand there ain't gonna be seasons of down, seasons of up, where shit rolling, shit gonna be straight, right? And the fact is, people get a chance to benefit the fact that we're able to navigate that storm, right? It's harder for us because we actually have a heart about the shit. Like right now, if somebody called me and said, I need 100 capitalist shirts right now, I'll find a way to do it, but I don't have 100 capitalist shirts right now ready to go, right? Because the way I operate my business, I'm not overcharging people. I'm keeping it in a nice profit margin where I'm making my money. I'm not taking over the top. We all navigate that water. But understand, the fact is, these other places who are business first, that are capitalists, are saying, I'm going to charge over because they understand that big wave of defeat is coming, right? The fact is, we don't know when the down hours are down for McDonald's down the street. We don't know when it's not going to be there. So the fact is, the market is so high, the fact is, that they can stay open when it's a drought, right? Maybe the drought ain't happening yet. But the drought is coming in everybody's business. Everybody's business.
What's your point?
So, like, what I'm trying to say is, when it comes to capitalism, is yes, they're doing these price margins that are bad on the surface, but it's able to make a profit to stay and to
I'm talking about thieves.
And that's what the thing is, like,
it's
it's unnatural because it's all about year over year profits. Any way we can make sure next year, by shaving off and paying people a little bit less, by reducing the quality of the product and implementing planned obsolescence, they implement all these mechanisms and these protocols to create a situation where you have to come back. They could make a car that could last 50 years. It doesn't make sense for the capitalistic system.
Wait.
Entrepreneurs would just solve it and make a car that can last 50 years and never break down. They could do that.
Hold on, bro. Like, no. It's different. It's different than that. That's giving somebody a choice. But when you steal something from someone, and say that it's our policy to steal, that's bullshit.
Yeah,
I don't give a fuck what your policy is. You can't fucking tell me that
It's racketeering.
this is our policy to steal from you. I said, wait a minute, bro. No more overdraft fees. If I don't got the money, don't take this shit out of my account.
Absolutely.
And you do it anyway.
I had that talk
You
ad
stole
nauseum.
at that point.
Absolutely.
And don't say, well, it's our policy, and then you hide behind fake shit by saying you can't give me the information that I'm looking for. When we know that the technology exists in order for you to give me this information. Because when I get to talking to somebody on the phone, right, and they start fumbling and bumbling and stumbling, I understand what's happening. The representative understands what's happening. They're having to defend this banker that's paying them. But in their heart, they know that I'm right. And
But their job is literally as a cat being caught up in this system to be like, it's my job to sit here and field these calls, knowing that we're not going to do it.
Like any other person will just be like, okay, you got me. But no, when I continue to just come through with just this, I'm gonna give you another example. I deal with a company called Sanmar. Sanmar is the biggest t-shirt company in the world for wholesale t-shirts. Mm-hmm. Sanmar, they owe me $400. Okay, they got enough money to pay me, but they don't want to fuck around and pay me back anything. Absolutely. I don't care how much money they got. They don't want to give me my money.
Every little bit counts.
To them, that's serious.
Absolutely.
To me, where I'm just like, here, you can have $5. Man, I can give niggas discounts. I don't give a fuck if they come in here and they don't got the money to pay for a shirt and they a little bit short. Absolutely. It's no bigger. You got that. Absolutely. They won't give me 50 cents off a shirt. I'm able to give a nigga $20 off of something. Mm-hmm. If they owe me $4.15 and they be like, bro, I got $400 for you. I say, come on with it.
Absolutely.
It's no bigger.
Absolutely.
They won't do that. They won't do that. So this is their mindset. I'm not giving you shit. So Sanmar today called him. I said, hey man, you know, bro, I brought back some shirts and replaced them. I ordered the wrong color shirts, right? You know what I'm saying? But it was cool. They like, bro, just give us back those and order what you want. I did that. So today, that was last Thursday. Today is this Friday. They have major corporation, bro. They can't be fucking around like a small and pop business.
Right.
Give me my money back. Right. I need to order more shirts.
Yeah.
So the point was, they was like, bro, we refunded you. Now I gave him $378.
Processing fee.
I gave him $370. No, it was no return, no restocking fee, no nothing. Because I reordered shirts. They do got a policy saying if you just need to take some shirts you fucked up, then we will charge you restocking. But if you just like replacing them with something else, no restocking fee. Got a rep on the phone this morning. Hey, you know, boom. Oh yeah, they was like, yeah, bro, we sent you back $310. And not $378 or $388 is what they're supposed to give me. I said, well, what happened? She said, well, I don't know. It's just not, I got to look and see what's going on. I said, well, ma'am, probably what happened was whoever like ordered the refund or whatever it is that they're supposed to do, they just made a mistake. You don't got to like try to go and see why they made a mistake. Me and you both know I paid this, but y'all gave me back that. Just correct it and fix it. So, you know, like it took me to like build with her, and it wasn't a like you don't get far going off with people. So me and her just chopping it up, being real, you know.
And she might not have had the kind of authority that you think
she has to
make
it
more
She didn't.
Yeah,
she didn't. And I recognize that. I recognize
they never put you up the chain. They put you down here and hope to get you out. Right. We gotta escalate it.
And that's how I told her.
So you gotta give her grace.
I said, well, hey, look. You might not have the authority to do this, right? I said, but let's start the process of figuring this out so we can get it together, you know?
Right.
But had I never said anything, you know,
that you'd have rolled with it like
they would have just
don't ask, don't tell.
Give me that free 70 from you.
Right.
And it was, I don't think that it was a mistake.
Nah.
It was an attempt to hit a lick.
Take a little nip.
Wells Fargo tried to steal.
But if they do it at the biggest company, they do that with 1 million people over a year. $70. That's another $70 billion to the bottom line.
That I was about to retain was like they do this to people all the time, somewhere between 20 to 40K, and they be watching their account.
My point is, never think somebody is too big to steal from.
Absolutely. But I'm saying, so here's to my
it's
point.
The biggest ones that do.
But here's my point: the government does it every day to us, like private corporations, the nonprofits. So like, really, it comes down to what are we doing to be intentional, vigilant, diligent, and like really saying, okay, how do we cut this off? And that's what I feel like Sis was saying, was like we're doing everything we can, but we're still only capable to some degree of really stopping it all. But my goal is to get an electric car. I've been wanting an electric car since they was ugly and unpopular before Tesla. Back in the bro, I was working with a dude trying to broker a deal with him and his ugly ass car in the 80s. It was an 80s car, but he was trying to do this in like the middle 2000s when I was working with him. And I was telling him, like, you need to update this, bro. If you updated the battery technology you got with this lead foam acid and all this, like, that's profound. But I'm like, you don't have a nice design on the outside. I'm like, that'll change everything. So once, you know, Tesla came out, I thought back like, you know, this guy was doing that, but I would have drove the ugly car just because it's better. It would have been some degree better than gas. So I'm like, I'm always trying to just do the best that I can. Like always being intentional every time. Like I don't litter. Right. I recycle, even though our spot doesn't have like recycling in the building. I collect it up in a black bag and take it over to the recycle bin off a monument, like the recycling center, bro, on my own. Because I'm like, I could just throw the plastic in the trash, but I'm trying to do what I can. Even though we know they're not really recycling a lot of this stuff. There's articles about it. So
that want to show love to our YouTube viewership, make sure you
No
guys
doubt.
can also drop in there. You know, feel me? If you're a real legendary commenter, you know, so you go ahead and drop one of them super chats in the building, and that way we won't miss your comment. But Greg West
Super
said,
chat.
now they only let you speak to just one person higher and let you talk to the man, like the manager's manager.
Absolutely.
Correct. I mean, I think it's all by design as well. Like I said, man, like we agree on a lot of fronts. It's
Absolutely.
the whole thing of I feel like people don't really know that they engage in a lot of capitalism unannounced to them, such as you went to ice cream today, didn't you?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
I went to McDonald's. I didn't want to. That's like a one in like 6 years ago. I wanted to go to Cold Stones, but it wasn't.
Well, I want to agree with y'all. I was gonna say like I agree with capitalism in the extent like I had a cat who sold his company for $250 million. Brian Brack came with Lightship, and he did a boot camp, and I've been wanting to connect with him for a while. I had a chance to go through the boot camp. It was free, and I talked about design to build and Trephouse and all that, and we was having drinks on the last day of the boot camp at the bar, and he was telling me like, you know, your problem is, Kemó, he was like, what you doing is beautiful, you brilliant, you comprehensive in it, like you just got it, like you got it, bro. He was like, but the problem is, you really got a problem with capitalism. And he was like, and I mean that to say, we're looking at you at the top of the hill on some rich capitalistic nigga shit, like because he's raw with this shit. Like he'll just say it. He's like, we looking at you pushing up this boulder of morality and nobility and righteousness and good intent and impact up the hill, sweating, breaking your back. Like, look at this motherfucker, bro. He's like, and there's no shade. Like, look at this, bro. That's respectful, bro. We rock with that, bro. That's beautiful. He's like, but if you just let go of that boulder, take design to build and make it a $400 million company, like I did with Kairos, sell that motherfucker, and then take that $400 million and fund Trephouse, fund the Good Hood Foundation, fund Beige Wall Street Ventures, fund like everything, all cap capital.
It's dope as fuck in theory.
Well, or it should be called restorative capitalism.
And that's why I said conscious capitalism was like, he's like, go make the money and then come back around, be straight raw capitalistic,
That's not
make the money and come back around and fund all the righteous stuff.
Man, like I don't think I think like if you get rich as you can, I don't think that it'll hurt the world any more than it's already hurt. And then
That's a dangerous line.
And then the good
That's a dangerous
that you can
line.
come back and do. Wait a minute. The good that you can come back and do. I think it'll balance it all out. And then the balance, like
That's what I'm
Peanut
saying.
made a serious point though, bro. For the person to say, I won't do shit, but doesn't do shit for anybody else. I won't do nothing bad, but at the same time, I don't do anything good.
Right.
Let's say if I got to do 25% bad, but swing back around and do about 75%.
Well, that's
good.
consumer versus producer. You can be a producer and still want to produce things that are regenerative, sustainable. Like, so producers are not necessarily just raw capitalists either. They're the ones that actually produce value that the world uses for its convenience.
I love
But
it.
I just feel like the
We-
person ain't giving out no jobs. The person that's not giving out no jobs. It ain't doing
But so
shit.
Amazon can have year-over-year
Doing
profit,
bad shit.
right? Like for them to have year-over-year record profits, they're underpaying.
Bad.
But here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying.
Bad, bro.
But all of them are talking about how underpaid they are.
Come back and at least do some good shit from the bad shit.
But it's the same as nurses. It's the same as teachers. It's the same. Like even though those look like those aren't capitalistic functions, they are. The whole system is. We know the education system is designed to create employees and soldiers.
Yeah.
It's based off like the Prussian ideology of like you raise your children up to be good employees and good soldiers, so you can literally create the industry you need to be a strong country. So that's a sacrifice you're supposed to make as a citizen. But I'm like, production is not the same as consumption. A lot of people go to work for somebody else producing and then consume, and they don't make a way out of their situation, so they complain about it.
Okay, come on.
Greg West says social capitalism is the best way to go, but most people don't know how to balance them both. Because of social engineering we have been indoctrinated into.
That's exactly what we're saying, brother. Greg is the guy. That's what I'm saying. Like he absolutely learning the Legacy Learning Institute. Like that's what they teaching is like conscious capitalism, and
Hey, but hold on. Hey, so what we did do was we talked about negative capitalism.
Yeah.
All right. We actually went to ChatGPT
Yeah.
and talked about
The negative.
the negative.
Yes.
Now let's listen
Oh, yeah.
I want to listen to the positive argument that America is proud to be capitalist, right? why can they say that they are proud capitalists?
I have
and get that
100
off?
reasons why.
And hold on, wait a minute, and get that
I've
off.
been doing this my whole life.
And then being able to stand there and be bold in their stance.
Absolutely.
So I want to know why capitalism can be considered.
We got to see what you get.
I want to hear arguments.
Can I get some snacks? Can I get a snack? I'm hungry.
This is making her hungry. Like, I need to eat.
Get a snack.
I need something to help keep my blood sugar up.
Snack? Can I get a snack?
Where you get it from?
I don't know.
KFC.
We actually have a on-site capitalist center in the front. You go there.
I actually got a vending machine in the front.
He called it an on-site capitalist.
Right.
Wow.
Automatic capitalism.
Right, so-
Original AI.
Capitalize off of your hunger.
Bring my card out, Danny. Let's get snacks.
One of the number one things that benefits all of capitalism, number one, is smartphones. Y'all have them know.
But
Of
what
course.
costs? You know how much create?
Computers.
You know how much?
But when you're like,
You know how much e-waste? You know how much e-waste that could
can I ask you one question? No, can I ask you one question? When you say that we all benefit from, who is all?
Everybody on this platform today.
Okay, so you're literally being fervently confident about four people's position when you say all. So is that what you only mean? Is that what we
And not looking at, not leaning
We're not looking at?
the negatives.
No. I can't debate people that sit here. I'm talking to your human experience.
Yes, phones
You ready?
are my life. I'm constantly making notes.
And it's people who were part of phones coming into smartphones coming into existence who are like, we actually designed them to make people slaves to them. People are coming out whistleblowing.
Y'all, I ain't talking about nobody.
I become dependent on my smartphone to my detriment. To my detriment.
No, wait. Somebody has my detriment. Somebody also.
You know what I'm saying, bro? Am I wrong, bro?
How many of us also brought today their computers also?
Me?
I did.
I have my iPad.
Mine in the car, right? Social media platforms. We're broadcasting live on social media platforms.
That also has been shown to cause people to be toxic.
Go ahead, cook dinner.
Cars!
At
Cars! We all jump here cars right there.
what cost?
Right? Have you ever been on an airplane?
At what cost?
Do you have electricity?
But at what cost?
Do you have refrigeration?
But at what? The freons.
Do you have washing machines?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Television?
Detergent in the washing machines.
Radio?
Propaganda. Like, I can talk about, like, they are good things, but they also have their, because people start to get capitalistic. Like, well, if I use it for these devices.
Do you have any vaccines? That's the mumps. That's all of that. Everything we got from the little kids.
Absolutely.
All right.
And at what cost?
Have you ever taken antibiotics?
Absolutely.
Provided by capitalism.
And it's creating superbugs. It's creating superbugs.
Modern hospitals. Human hospitals.
Absolutely.
All right.
The healthcare system is corrupt. The healthcare system is corrupt. The medical costs are outrageous. Outrageous
How many cars you got?
to try to use it as a capitalistic.
Bus turn? Is this a bus turn?
Come on.
It's speed.
Is this
It's runaway. Like, it's so fast to explode.
Turn to car.
Credit card. How many credit cards have you had?
Hell of people how many
For
credit
what
cards
purpose,
you
though?
had,
What's the
Kemó.
maximum amount of credit cards you had?
But for what purpose?
Hey, bro.
Teach the people.
It's over.
35 and no, listen though. But that's the way you gotta let me give context. You wanna know why? You wanna know why?
Yes.
Because I was reading online that white and Asian dudes, when I was trying to get into real estate investing, that that's how they was getting to the real estate game. And I didn't have nobody from my community that was like, I'm about to let you use my 401k or use my savings. So it's like the only way I can get on is what they saying. Let me use what I got as an effective slavery. If I tell people if there's one thing that we got as a result of slavery that's to our benefit, it's those 9 digits we call Social Security number. Because
I'll fuck with it. Number 3.
see what I'm saying? We can use credit to our advantage. I was using to my advantage, not to buy reckless shit.
Wait. Have you ever used an automated teller machine such as an ATM?
Of course.
So that job replaced a person.
This is called being like it's
That job
nebulous.
replaced a person.
Because we know we all have, but it's also you get charged fees if you don't go to one in network.
Well, I
Have you ever done
I
online
think
shopping?
that's such
Online
a not
shopping.
But you gotta save fees.
Online shopping.
You got to pay fees if it's out of network.
No way, man.
I said, yeah.
We already know we all have.
Bad food chains.
But at what effect?
I mean, come on, but it has to be something. It's not
Ridiculous, man. Caffeine addiction. Like, people have caffeine addiction. Sugar addiction. Y'all know they got us addicted to sugar because of capitalistic. High fructose corn syrup.
And for the record, I was only at 19. I had a whole 100 clips.
But all those things ultimately are detriment to society, and they hurt us more than they help us in most cases.
I still didn't. So that's the point why capitalism is good, because we all benefit from capitalism.
Absolutely.
I don't support this statement. I know this is being thing. I'm saying this. Díke don't echo this.
You know what? Okay, so I went number 20. Clothing stores. You ever bought something in a clothing store?
Peanut, no, there's no, you can go to 10,000. It doesn't negate the fact that what is good, if it is also bad, it needs to be reconsidered.
Indeed, we got to do better about being more intentional in the capitalism. That's all we saying.
I just want to make sure y'all know I don't support this message.
Why do you think capitalism is bad? But after all the stuff Peanut just read, we see that we really do fuck with it.
That's not capitalism. That's innovation. That's not necessarily capitalism. We can't just keep acting like things are synonymous when they aren't. There's a reason that we got to be impeccable with our wording.
Yeah.
Innovation is not the same as capitalism. Innovation was figuring out fire to stay warm. There wasn't anybody until we got to Dick's Sporting Goods being like, we can put butane in a can and literally give you this sparky thing. Instead of you learning how to rub two sticks together and taking the time to do that, here's a lighter that you can buy with money. Like, so I'm saying, like, capitalism is where it benefits all. Hold on. Behavioral economics is where they study the things that will make people go and spend the money that they go and work for, in a system that in and of itself is broken. So I'm like, we all are trapped in the system. We were born into this. We're trying to figure out our way, literally, because you go globally. This whole mindset is like pervasive. So it's like we're really dealing with the few who are like, can we be more conscious about it at least? Can we think about how the environment, like, there's an article I read that said
capitalist, or that's two different things.
Two different
things.
Yeah.
I feel like capitalism is like the philosophy in its pure sense. It's not about really dominating, taking over. It's capitalists.
So communism is one form of
monetaryism. It's a form of monetaryism.
Capitalism, right, don't have nothing to do with a form of government.
Yes, it does. Because capitalism is basically where it says that they have lobbying. They just don't use the same language. It's different language for different industries.
You can't compare capitalism and communism.
Yes, you can, because the different.
Is that a comparable?
Yeah, capitalism. Hold on. I'm about to break it down for you. Capitalism.
I'm gonna Google the real.
Capitalism, communism, and socialism are all forms of monetaryism, where it's based off of the monetary policy. Here's the difference between the three.
People have run as a socialism. People have ran
with a socialist agenda.
People have ran as a communist.
And a socialist and communist agenda. They do it when they just run as what the Democrats and Republicans. They're both capitalists. They just don't.
Asking you a direct question is: has a public figure ran as a communist?
Yes.
Yes.
No one has ever ran as a capitalist.
They have. They just don't call it that when they're regular.
But capitalism is not a political party.
It is. It's an assumed. Listen, I'm going to tell you how. A lobbyist is just an investor with an agenda at a political level.
I mean, they're close. They
are the same thing. It's not close. I tell you.
Well, can a communist be a capitalist?
No, because here's the difference between the three. They believe different degrees of government intervention. So communists believe that the government should intervene and try to make it as normalized as possible for everybody. But because of the corruptions in human beings, the people that rise to power that are supposed to apply this perfect philosophy end up saying, well, let's give everybody the basic worst pair of shoes, the basic worst source of food, all this worst shit. But it's like, but everybody has a common thing, but we're going to still try to, as the 1%, keep it in our pockets. So it just flows differently. Capitalism allows free market trade and us to have a chance to possibly do something, but it's still designed.
Do you think capitalism is a better, like, philosophy?
It's dangerous because
how people.
It is a
condition that people should be under. It's
an allure.
Better than communism.
My mom always used to say, like, capitalism is just rose-colored communism, because at the end of the day, the government still
doesn't create the necessary barriers and policies and laws that mitigate the perversion of human influence.
Do you like communism?
No.
No? Socialism?
I'm not really a proponent wholly on any of them because none of them have ever actually operated in their name or their definition. So all of it is really just kind of blowing smoke. I think in practice, capitalism is where democracy can exist soundly if government puts the necessary barriers in place to, forbear human perversion and influence.
And that's where AI and blockchain become relevant, because if we use AI in a righteous way and use blockchain to prevent like smart contracts where nobody could pervert those agreements, like there's actually people who are using blockchain technology, and I've been talking about this, like Pan-African people should have a Pan-African virtual nation. We can use virtual nation technology to create a platform where we have our own governance system that's automated, uses smart contracts, and so any types of mediation we need, the smart contracts and the protocols in place, make sure it happens without any possibility of corruption, because nobody can come in and say, well, we're going to actually divert from this decision. So that's where I see the value of using it to our advantage if we choose to do so. But most people in their corrupted nature, us being in the Kali Yuga, in the Hindu context, like they say, we're in the point where 75% of the culture in the world is corrupt and 25% of the people are on the shepherd mindset. So we are literally outnumbered 3-1 from the righteous standpoint in us trying to do this work. So like most people are thinking about, how can I get the power and then take over and control and manipulate and devolve? You know what I'm saying? Like that's most people. That's proven.
So we got my bro Greg West trying. He said, "I'm a capitalist and I know it. You can't be in business without being one." He put busy, but I read between the lines. But I'm at peace because I know I have to balance it by giving back and try to help those who want the help. I live by my eye, right? Salute to my brother, Greg West. He's actually one of the people who received my shirt for free. He won in a raffle at Official Network. Shit, everybody get popular. But
The guy.
bro, I really love everybody's perspective on this, man, because I feel like you're saying like today I got a chance, you know what I'm saying? I got a chance to shout y'all for a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But
Yes.
I appreciate it. But like for instance, when we talk about the difference between socialism and things of that nature, right? There'll be a person that's born in, let's say, China, right? He's born into a family of dressmakers, right? He'll never reach anything else besides the level of whatever his parents are, right? They don't live in a capitalist society for real. They have it to where it's like a monarchy. Like whoever are the who's are gonna stay the who's. There's no wealth balance and change over. Instead, here we live in a capitalist society where if you got a dream that actually works, actually does help society, then you could go from the gutter to the top.
But that's not capitalism. That's democracy. That's not capitalism.
Oh, okay.
What they're suffering under is a dictatorship. That's not the same. Like you can have a capitalistic dictatorship.
But you just put it to where capitalism was in the same realm of political. And when I said it's capitalism and communism, all something different.
Yeah, it's a level of government intervention in like free trade and enterprise. That's really the difference between them all.
For instance, all right, I'll be eclipsed my parents when it comes to how much I've made in life already at this point in my juncture in my life, based off me being a capitalist.
Indeed.
Right? These are things I personally did in my own life. No government stopped me. No spooky man out there helping me. Nobody's stopping me from doing it. That's something we actually benefit from. The fact is we can actually go out there and do whatever we need to do to get to the next level. Nobody's stopping us from doing that compared to these other nations that we sit here and all of.
Well, can I interject for a moment? And I'm only saying this because I love you as a black man, and there are many other black men who I love that are been in the prison system and work in the prison system. And to say audaciously what you just said is beautiful in theory, but in truth, my cousins in LA, for example, already know by 22, they want you on their beat. They want to make sure that you at some point have been locked up and at some point put in the system. So we're going to pull your car over. We're going to start around 17. We're going to start when you first get that license.
I made over $100,000.
I'm not.
Living for freight stock.
The criminality.
No, I'm not. To my point is that I'm not, I did nothing in me create space for victimhood. I'm only speaking from a place of reasonability when looking at the masses and how things begin to continue and become a cycle. And that systems are racist. That's the problem. And because we live in a country made up of racist systems that profit from what they call prison, essentially what you say is possible is possible. I've been a full-time entrepreneur since I was 24 years old. It's absolutely possible. My brother did 21 years in prison. He made poor choices and he had not a great attitude. So I'm not making
But classism.
But the point is that we're being crass. If we teach anybody outside that in America, that is not that it's not possible, but that there are not absolute barriers that are constantly thrown in the way of black men, specifically, if I want to be frank, because I don't feel I've really lived a life of multiple barriers. But being closer to black men as a professional now, even now being a local here in Dayton, Ohio, I'm actually shocked at the amount of barriers that are thrown in front of y'all. I actually am, and I'm a black person. So my affinity group, I'm shocked when the gender is treated actually different than I was treated my entire like raise up to being 35 years old. So all I'm saying is that it's a war is that if you don't know you're in a war, you're still getting beat. And my point is that we're in a war. We're in a war that's coming at us in a different.
But we are all generals, and that's what we forget. That's why I tell them we gotta remember and never forget we are all generals.
Excuses for a prisoner who doesn't know how to rehabilitate.
We're shepherds. We're shepherds. We're generals.
I'm making space for a reality that does exist, which is a system that's racist.
In classes and elitist.
So, yes, men's education is one thing.
You got a couple of comments too.
For sure. We got a great way to say that, right, sis? He said facts. 100 said shot they speak, for sure. Speak power, sis.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Speaking, absolutely. Salute.
But what I want to say is this: is you have a brother like Kemó who grew up in a hood that's impoverished with drug sellers, people trying to put drugs in his hand his whole life. He chose to go a whole different path.
Well, I had an anomaly experience. I had an outlier experience. I had an older brother being 16 years older than me and who was on the righteous path that I saw as my Superman, who was around and knew, like, if I didn't have him, it was going to be my mom trying to keep up with me once I got taller than her and what that meant where we was living at. So it was literally.
But I'm gonna echo your point because I grew up and I could have chosen I could have made one way and I made another. I absolutely chose, and I truly believe in determining your destination. And I truly believe in setting a goal and making yourself almost, obsolete to anything that doesn't match that goal and going for it.
But somebody somewhere made you feel like, you know what, I can do this.
No, exactly. And that's what I'm saying for the black boys. Oh my goodness. Like Absolutely. Now having these conversations as an adult, I'm like, nobody ever said that kind of stuff to me.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like I know my brother being like in that place. I know that's my outlier. If I didn't have him there and being righteous where he wasn't like the rest of my homeboys brothers, I wouldn't be where I am today. Him and my mom being outliers in that experience.
I think that we have I think they just try to exploit black people and make it seem like so many black people just sell drugs.
Agreed.
And so many black people are violent. And so many black people are just wild. And this, that, and the third. But my experience with dealing with bros, man, like from just coming in here, and I sell gold teeth. Man, like a lot of these brothers just work, man. Absolutely. They like cool shit. They like rap. They sing rap lyrics. Yeah. Right. But they not in a dope game. Right. They just doing the best that they can. They like regular people. Like, for example, they like niggas is lazy. Man, like they said black people had a high unemployment rate and it was like at 7% or 9%. But the other side of the coin is like 91% of people are working. That's all. That shit ain't fucking low to me. Right. They just presenting it as that. Yeah. They put one black person on the news that can't really explain how a shooting went down. And he just the damn dope fiend.
But that's the negatives of television and radio. That's the point I'm making is like it's not really to our benefit. We may watch a nature show or something that may educate us, but ultimately the goal is for them to indoctrinate, make us think, and other cultures think black people are dangerous. Stay away. When only I saw another statistic that said 5% of black men are drug dealers. It's not like 70%, 80%. It's like it's a very small subset that are technically drug dealers, but they make it seem like it's all of us. So people see us coming in the way we're dressed because where we come from, and that's why I'm like, that's the danger of capitalism, because they're like, we need black people to stay at a certain level. Truly, because hold on. I'm saying, hold on. I'm about to say capitalism. When slavery ended, if it is a thing, no. But I'm saying their goal was, and they're designed.
Capitalism will want you to go make money, bro.
At the expense for me to hit you with fees, to nickel and dime you and that money. We want to take as much as we can once you do.
The biggest capital is the IRS. They want you to go make $1 million so they can come get some money from you. It's not trying to stop you.
So I'm saying that they are trying to stop you in the sense of you can't have really freedom. That's what we talk about. Ultimately, all this is freedom. Capitalism doesn't really highlight or appreciate freedom. But I'm saying capitalism doesn't appreciate freedom. If you aren't consuming, capitalism doesn't work. That's all I'm saying. Like,
do IRS should make money or not?
Yes.
To consume.
Yes, they do.
To take from you.
That is some of the worst robbery shit ever.
Absolutely. Property taxes. Property taxes. That's not even IRS. We're paying property, like, no taxation without representation. We're getting taxed and we have no representation still.
Do you know? I don't know what the land count cap is, but do you know that if you have horses,
you prove the point. Look.
You know about the horses, no tax on land at all?
No.
It's a federal thing.
Yeah, like once you got livestock in your property, but fast forward to what, like
that's lit. That's lit.
No, but yeah.
You said property tax, right? So it's in the government's best interest for us to own property, so they can tax you.
Right. It's in the government's
so why don't you broke then?
No,
but I'm saying there was a time.
It's in the government's best interest to stimulate economy, which means it's like a wheel that's moving. It's in the government's best interest to give energy to that wheel, so no matter what, it's always moving. And
but there was a time. That's what I'm saying. If you go back in history, there's a thing called allodial titles, where you used to be able to get a title and pay off the taxes and own the property and never pay taxes for it again.
I got some real shit for us. I got some real shit. For real.
I've been saying some real shit.
Nah, I know. And some more real shit.
Okay.
Yes. Wow, look at yes. You like make sure we all saying that real nice.
Nah, and I think, man, like this conversation that we having, man, is exactly what I like, because we all just dropping jewels and, man, you know what I'm saying? We just sharing ideas. You know?
Absolutely.
I sold the car this time.
But on some real shit, no ghetto pass will be revoked with your answer.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever experienced?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Kemó.
Kemó.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Kemó.
The conscious. Yeah,
restorative.
Have you guys ever personally experienced racism where you, like, it was pressure definitely on you, just like for real racism?
In ballet, I experienced racism when I was like 8. I remember it. And in Girl Scouts.
Let me hear the story.
I just was like the only black girl, and I was thick, and I didn't have like a slim shape, and the teacher always made it a point to call me out or make me feel like I wasn't doing anything right. And it wasn't that I couldn't be taught how to do it right, but the energy was very clear that it was, essentially, I'm trying to make you not want to be here.
So that, okay.
Yeah.
What else you got for me?
I remember in Girl Scouts. I don't remember the exact thing that happened, but again, it was under like
as an adult.
I'm gonna say as an adult. So that was when I lived in Ohio as a kid. As an adult, overt racism. I actually did experience something recent that was a pretty outlier experience since I moved back to Ohio. And I don't like to proliferate bad things into the world. Honestly, sometimes bad things that happen is easy to just keep them there and give it to God. But I was driving, I think I was like going to Centerville, and I was in more of like going to the community area, but the streets were still pretty wide. And there was a white guy in a pickup truck who you turning left and they going this way, like I'm going my way, they're coming that way, right? And when I turned left, he like took his right arm and he acted like he had a gun, like a big gun, and it was like right at me. And he kept driving. And
so do you think that,
go ahead.
is that racism?
I think that was a hate attempt. I think what motivated his hate attempt could have been assumed as racism, but what motivated it might not have been. So I'll say I assumed it and I received it as racism. But was it actually racism as to what motivated him? I can't confirm or deny.
Yeah, I've definitely had a lot of racist experiences, even in business, like the one that comes to me. I just had a conversation with a brother who was an investor today where I had to correct him and just let him know, like, yo, bro, you don't act like when I was doing the real estate investing and you were an investor that I failed to perform on the house where you didn't end up getting all your money back. It was because I didn't perform. I got the house done and it was beautiful and people loved it. But being 28 years old, I could have never imagined in a million years I would really deal with redlining. Where now it's articles, hand over fist about how people change the pictures or have somebody else go as a proxy and it's a different appraisal versus when they find out it's some black folks. So I had a house. My investor had a house down the street. This guy was one of my smaller investors. My big investor, who was a mentor of mine, had a house down the street, and he sold his house for like $150,000, same exact house. When I listed it for like 130 because he's like, it's on the main thoroughfare. You kind of take a hit from that, so you probably get 130 all day. Put it on for 130, no hits. And I was doing for sale by owner, so I wasn't listening with the agent. I was the one showing up. 125, no hits. 120, no hits. 115,
so you the one
no
showing
hits.
up, not the agent.
110, yeah. So once it got to like 109, people were like interested. But my investor mentor is a white guy. He was like, I have no idea why your house isn't being valued at the same thing. And I'm like, I don't want to say this, and I know it's gonna be hard to believe, but I think it's redlining. And he was just like, no, I don't believe that. And I'm like, bro, if we have the same house, your house is literally 30 seconds away from mine. Yours sold for $40,000, $50,000 more. I think his may even sold like 150. Other ones were going for like 170, 180 by that point. I might as well for 109. So then over a couple years, these articles start coming out about people having these appraisal discrepancies because of the color of their skin. And I've had to tell bro, like today, like, bro, you want me to send you 4 or 5 articles about how this shit is happening for real? I'm like, so don't act like I didn't finish that house immaculately, bro.
Can I echo
It wasn't my performance, and you're not gonna keep coming at me like I fucked it up. I didn't fuck it up, except when I was black. I got hit with a black tax and didn't know it until this shit happened.
And that goes back to the point of I didn't think about it, but I don't like to be changing my answer. The answer is the system is racist, and systems are designed to destroy you from a distance. So if we exist in this racist system, then we encounter racism all the time. Do we know we're encountering it all the time? If they can make it seem like it's not happening, it's a good thing.
Absolutely. And they try to shoot,
which is why we need good allies.
What about if I say,
like your mentor?
What about if I say no? No
to what? That America operates a racist system that is automatically set to oppress those who are melanated.
What I think it is I think that some of it is a Jedi mind trick. And I think that the race...
When you say Jedi mind trick, what do you mean by that?
Just trying to get into your mind to make you think one way, so you just develop a self-fulfilling prophecy of how things turn out for you. Because nothing can stop you anyway, right? And what you think does materialize a lot of the time.
I agree with that, with propaganda.
And the things that you worry about, man, you are often confronted with these things. And so one thing that I think is kind of going back to the slavery situation where I said, like, bro, I ain't sure that we slaves and we was brutal. I don't think that they was dogging us like they put on the movies and portray and teach us in school. The shit that they teach us in school is only to humiliate, make you feel inferior,
more propaganda,
and pump you out. It's propaganda.
Yeah, but you've used 2 words that honestly are dangerous to preamble with things. They do have facts. And doing due diligence to know those facts is the only way to integriously introduce that information. So I can't just sit here and listen to you say, like, I don't think. Do you not think because you have an immutable fact that goes against it?
But my thing is, even regardless of all that, whether it happened or not, we know that we was queens and kings and that we created civilization. They came to us crawling like they admit that they were Neanderthals. They come from Homo erectus. Black folks were already evolved.
It's abundant.
That's what I'm saying. Like we didn't have to. So we literally were there, and they decided like we can't have this.
Everybody come from Africa.
That's my point. So I'm saying like they knew we were superior. They saw us walking around, our women all fine, the brothers all cocked up, and they was like, I need a gun to blow them away.
The middle passage.
You know what? I think something really great about something great that you can look into YouTube. Y'all should look into.
Who did discover America?
Well, certainly not that Columbus person.
Okay.
Certainly not him. Not when he had a melanated navigator.
All right.
Absolutely.
But in school, honestly, did they not teach us that was a historical fact?
I'm not talking about school. I don't care about what they taught us. I'm talking about what I taught myself through travel.
But I mean, it contradicted itself.
No, I don't care. No,
but I want to say, hold on.
Want to know. Want to know. It's not to lean into what people.
I just want to finish my thought.
I'm just saying they contradicted themselves because there was Native Americans here when they got here, so it contradicted the story in their own story. Like they discovered something when there's other people here.
When there's other people here, they was melanated. How they get melanated?
Who owns?
I just want to finish.
We are the native.
We're the indigenous.
That's my point.
We are the native human.
Thank you. So all I'm trying to tell you is that we know that they have given us lies as historical facts in school as a for real solid belief foundation. Now you guys.
So how do you go around that? I don't want you to assume that's what my sources are.
As us being conscious, we went around and said, hold on, we gotta research what they told us and figured out that that's not true. But the shit that they teaching us in elementary school is also getting reinforced in college.
Absolutely. In corporate America.
Like there's some like you go and survey a bunch of other people, like man, they'll feel like Africa itself was discovered. I went to Wright State and I had a college course on Islamic African studies type shit, but it was being taught by a white professor. And the white professor was also an explorer that went into Africa, and he searched and researched and been through Africa, and he had all of this major experience. But I went to school as like a 35, 40-year-old man who was a dog.
Right.
I've already studied. Only reason I'm in his class is because I wanted to study what I've already studied from an academic lens, right?
It's hard.
So he's in class telling a whole group of students. I got 2 stories where I had to correct professors as to what they was teaching. One professor was teaching about the Jewish people, and I said, well, hold on, professor. The Jews are the tribe of Judah from the Bible. She said, no, it's not. You're talking about 2 different people. I said,
no way, man.
Nope.
So, I mean, systems are flawed.
But she said that in front of a group of students and said that I was wrong. I told her, I kind of set her straight, but I didn't want to just overwhelm her or disrespect her.
But we as black men have to walk on those eggshells because it's automatically like, how dare you tell me that I'm wrong? I'm the professor.
Well,
and I used to get in trouble for that too.
Professors, they knew I was older, so after class one day, after I had already told her about this, she said, I went and checked. This is a professor, a 20-year veteran professor. She said, I went and checked with the professor or somebody else that knew more than her. That was another professor. She said, you was actually right.
Right.
But this is walking down a back hallway.
I need you to announce that in class next session. I need that in front of class next session.
Students walked on. Now they are all they're all miseducated.
But I would have made it a point to tell her next class, I need you to make that declaration publicly.
You know what though? Like,
it is not ego, and it's just really on like the academic, scholarly. Yes, and like
actually, you know what, bro? They've all been indoctrinated with the same lies as.
But so have you. So have you. So have you. So until we make ourselves available to learn, to unlearn,
you have been indoctrinated, but you are
brazen things that I 1,000% disagree with.
But I'm teaching you. But I'm teaching you now.
Because you can't.
We're teaching each other. We're all teaching each other.
No, but it's a flow of teach. I'm just saying you can't make certain brazen statements that negate truth.
Only
I'm
education
teaching
itself,
you
education.
now. You don't have to be defensive about being taught and learning.
I'm not.
So all I'm telling you is, now that I'm telling you this new information, it's nothing wrong, Queen. Listen, it says, and you could never be this, but I do want to put this out there. It says, rebuke a wise man and he'll love you, and rebuke a fool and he'll hate you.
So do you love me or do you hate me?
No.
Do you love me or do you hate me? Because you said some things, and I'm going to call you on it, because I don't do nothing on camera nowhere in this world where I let things sit and just let them be. There was a lot of propaganda discussion around being slaves, and there was a lot of propaganda discussion around, you know, Africa and how it really worked, and if we're even, and all of that's really great banter and rhetoric, but it becomes irresponsible when we negate opportunities to learn from a first-hand source, if I ever finished my point in the room. So those who want to...
You're not a first-hand source, though. You're not. You wasn't there.
I mean,
there.
so we can't discount the verbal lineage that we passed down that has been the form of us like really communicating our history, like that preceded anything being written.
In Nigeria.
Absolutely.
Where they stole for the evils.
There's
that's what I'm saying. Like,
it's okay.
No, it's not though. Like.
No, it's so. But you have to make space for what is also truth. I can trace back from my own bloodline. I'm talking about my own blood. I'm talking about my own village. I'm talking about my own village. Down.
Slaves.
There were people in the area of my city and state that were victims of what was mostly actually stealing. It was mostly take sessions. Most of them happened at night.
Stealing human beings.
Absolutely. And here's the thing: what you got to remember is that convenience didn't exist so easily. So when someone leaves to go on a walk, it's natural to go on the walk. It's natural to go on the walk for 2 to 3 days. Right. So it's natural for you to end up missing, and nobody know that you're missing. There was a tribe that cooperated with the colonizers that operated with the guns and with the weaponry, and
trying to cover their ass, but it wasn't in mass.
They didn't do it.
That wasn't in mass.
100 million people.
No, I'm not going to go back to that number. There was a lot of wars. There was. It's not in our history, but it is in Nigerian history.
It's not in Nigerian history. It's not in African. It's not.
It's somebody's. I mean, you can. But that's what I'm saying. The discount.
Show me the history. Pull up the history right now.
I didn't even know we were doing this. I would have brought some books.
But I mean, I feel like the reason that they even make highlight. I feel like the reason. I feel like the only reason they make highlight.
No, because actually that's so interesting because
100 million people being stolen from Africa.
The number is cooperating. It's so interesting because.
There ain't no cooperating stories.
When I first was thinking about Africa Legacy, which are the tours I'm doing to Nigeria, but really West Africa, all places where we were taken from the
if Africa let some white colonizers come over there and take their people and get sold for guns and wine, they weak as fuck.
Those were
some weak ass niggas.
It wasn't a unity act.
Capitalizing on niggas that would just give their brothers and sisters away. That's bullshit.
We have to blame humans for capitalizing on humans.
I don't believe the other bullshit.
Absolutely. Both parties are wrong.
Humans should never capitalize on
I'm gonna tell you some more bullshit that they keep telling us about black slavery, that they would just, black men would sit around and let the white slave master come in and fuck our daughters, mothers, sisters, grandmothers, and beat the fuck out of them and sell them, and niggas refuse to fucking uprise and let that shit go. You think niggas is gonna let some shit like that go down? Ain't near nigga right now in 2023 would ever let somebody come in their house and fuck their wife in front of their face and don't do shit. And they told niggas for years that that's the fucking shit that we let happen.
Well, my name is Sadé. I'm your favorite house dealer, and I got some other stories to tell you about the revolts that happened. That they did fight the colonizers back, and these happened in small. They happened in small moments that weren't reported, but it doesn't negate the fact that they happened. So please don't think they did.
So
Don't think they did.
you're leading to their
because they
academia.
did fight back.
The fucking
It's their
shit never
academia
happened.
that shared the propaganda of the what we call history, but that's
You
not
tell the story
true.
from the perspective of the
It's
hunter. The
their
lion always
skin.
looks like
We
the
believe
villain.
in the same people that told us Christopher Columbus discovered America.
I don't
in
believe in
order
those
to
people.
corroborate these fucked up stories
I
about
don't believe in those
slavery, and now how we took all of that bullshit for all of them years, and they came and took us from the transit from Africa, selling boats way back in the 1600s, and ain't none of these slave ships to be found anywhere.
But my
You just said
thing
a
is-
trace of 5 things without an actual point. None of it negates.
What do you mean? My point is it's bullshit.
But my
That's
thing is,
the
here's my
point.
thing.
Wait,
I'm
immutable.
So let me make my point clear. The stories that they told you
Yeah.
are fallible. The stories that they told you are not to be believed. These are the same people that paint Hannibal white. They're the same people that paint Moses white.
So when you say, are you saying the story that are you saying that it took place, or what? Just so I know, when you say story, are you talking about the story that a transatlantic slave trade happened, or that when it happened, how it happened?
The shit happened
That
not
it happened.
like they said they
Okay, so how it happened? So you're negating that
It
how
never happened. And we were
You're saying
Are you
saying it didn't happen at all?
No, but it's-
indigenous to America.
Did it happen at
So
all?
are you saying that the transatlantic slave trade did not
There
happen?
was what I'm saying is it did not happen the way that they said it happened, and the brutality that involved slavery never fucking was going down. And if it did, it was isolated incidents, but it definitely wasn't nothing that was happening on a regular basis. And what they do is they pick the most excitable stories in order to put them in front of your face in order for us to get up, angry, and emotional about shit, and then make us just feel this anger and hate that like actually throws us off of our path.
But here's my thing. There's
But
black
like
folks
that
at that
shit
time,
is-
during the time, who wrote books, who learned how to write English and release books, poets, all the whole thing. So there's stories. But my thing is this. We can talk about the historical context, but today, niggas is doing that. You, Peanut, Sadé, me, we all are living under the thumb of the same motherfuckers because they big about legacy. They big about legacy. We're still living under the same powers that be
It's still
in
war.
a different. It's slavery in a new form. It's 2.0.
But you're
This-
allowing it though.
that's what I'm saying. We are allowing it because we are all sitting here right now with the creature comforts of being in this capitalistic system. So I'm complicit, you complicit, she's complicit, he's complicit. So I'm saying even in all that,
but
we're
is it
still,
though?
it doesn't make
Is
it
it?
right just because we're complicit in it. And we still have to do our best at every
I
moment.
really don't feel like I'm in a. I mean, the only slaving that I'm doing is by my own choice to participate, though. Like it's on me. Like,
So how's that not the
I'm in
same
here
weak
working
ass shit
every
you saying
day.
about us? How's that not the same thing as in the historical context? If you're willingly going into it for the creature comforts that you do get, how is that not the same? How could it not have gone down the
Because
same way?
The story that they're telling you is they're saying you don't have a choice to participate in it. You're held captive and you cannot leave no matter what. The only way out is death. But I have another choice to just pretty much just leave or stop coming in here and selling t-shirts or quit doing it. Like, bro, like,
No, but I'm saying you can literally be walking down the street as the pillar of the community that you are, and a racist cop who's just like, I just don't like the fucking cut of his jib. I'm cracking his black ass head
that
tonight.
ain't happening though, bro.
I'm saying I hear you, but it happens on a regular.
Bro.
We have enough cases of it happening, and it's not fake news. It's not something we talking about in historical
Man,
context that we can't
bro.
reference every day. It's not just propaganda. Cops
Bro,
are
that
the
is
fucking
bullshit.
slave catchers that was going down. There's
That's
history
how
of this
they-
shit.
that's
Like
how they even
all
get
this shit
to
came
it.
to
You
existence.
tell me that most black people walking down the street, how many times out of 100 get pulled over and killed by the police?
Bro,
Walking down
I've
the
told a
street.
story about how I've literally was sitting in fucking Perkins parking lot after leaving from the Yellow Rose, not doing a fucking thing in my uncle's car at the time, talking to some chick on the phone, and I see a motherfucker turn a flashlight on and tell me stick my hands out the window and open the door. And I'm like, I think it's a motherfucker playing, being funny. I look out at the back of the window, it's 8 cop cars, bro. All cops out with their guns drawn. I'm sitting in Perkins parking lot in the seat chilling, no weed. I wasn't even smoking at the time, nothing. Like I didn't smoke back then. So by the time it all got figured out, somebody had killed somebody at like Yellow Rose right after I left, and I fit the description. So they proceeded to have me lay on my stomach, only for it to come back that the color of the sweatpants was wrong. I'm like, so that wasn't a key detail that you got before? No.
It's a serious situation.
But it's not, because they already knew I didn't fit the description with the sweatpants I had on. There was no gun. I'm like, if I did get away, I wouldn't go keep the gun in the car.
I mean, bro.
But I'm saying, and all that, it still didn't take 8 cop cars drawn down. It's happening on the highway.
Be objective. I have a story growing up. I remember my brothers were in the backyard, in our gated backyard, and the police literally came in the backyard and pulled a gun on my brothers. Now, it was 2 cops. My mom, thank God she was home, and she rushed out there frantically to understand what's going on. And the officer said that we saw them on the other side behind the gate, and we weren't sure if they were supposed to be here. So we came to check. And that's why they came. Now,
with guns out.
With guns
kids.
out. With kids.
So I'll read the comments real quick.
Guns out, kids.
We got Greg West to say buck breaking was real and it's still real. That's on YouTube. We also have multiple comments on our Facebook.
Man, it you know what, man? Like, people love comfort, man, and excuses.
So let me finish that comment.
Go ahead.
You got Chelsea Adams that said, luckily I went to HBCU that changed my life. I had to relearn everything except math. Some of us were here already and some of us were not. You will never find an accurate number of bodies from the slave trade.
Absolutely. And I get where you're going with the whole thing because it means that we still have ownership.
What'd she say?
You never find an accurate number. So if they throw this number out and say 47 million.
Right.
No,
and I get where he's going with it, though. He's saying, like, technically, it's still our land to claim, but in them telling us the story that we came from somewhere else, we have no ownership of the land. I know where you're going with it, bro. Like, I get that completely. I'm saying, regardless of all that right now in the system as it stands, our minds are so corrupted that even if we could come together and make a claim, we would fuck it up. And I tell people, like, I saw a interview with a black professor who was debating some white professors, and they were talking about reparations. This was just recently. And one of the arguments the white professor made was that we can see what black people would do with reparations because we got a glimpse of what happened with the PPP money, like all the pandemic money. There's so much money. People don't know the name Bernard Arnault. Most people don't know who the fuck that is. Right now, he's the richest man in the world, or he was like in the most recent months. He catapulted from the 8th position to the number 1 position over Elon Musk, over Bezos, over all of them. Bernard Arnault is the CEO and owner of the Louis Vuitton brand. We literally bought so much fucking fashion. He jumped 8 positions. He did something that nobody's ever seen before. 8 positions to number 1 for luxury fashion because we bought so much bullshit. Literally, they can account and show all the data. So I'm saying we wouldn't even do right if we had reparations. If we could make the claim and do it, most of us would not be thinking about land development for real. We would fuck it up. And I'm like, I love my people.
Because, like, bro, like a lot of black people just might not care about that shit, though.
That's the problem, though. Because the capitalistic system as it was, like, we'll sell it to you. Yeah. Yes. Not owning. Ownership is the whole underpinning of capitalism. If we don't own, then we are consumers who get sold bullshit and we can't do nothing but complain.
We don't have power.
All we can do is complain and be comfortable. That's the problem.
These are all just philosophical.
This is facts. This is facts.
No, it's not.
You just said the same thing. I just backed up what you said. We want comfort and convenience. And so that's the problem. We don't own nothing because that means I have responsibility.
You don't own an industry. You get run by it.
That's to you, though.
That's the reality.
That's macroeconomics.
Yes.
I'm not making
relative.
up.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's not. Economics is why money exists to circulate in the economy.
To the end that we need workers and we need owners. And if you aren't an owner, you're a worker. It's very black and white in this system.
Black and white.
Okay.
And if you don't own, you're not a decision maker. You don't have real power.
That's the system here.
Wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. No, man, because you can't make generalized statements.
That's not generalized.
Macroeconomic statement.
Wait a minute.
Producers and consumers.
This is
all
econ.
you guys are saying, no matter how powerful you are in your statement,
This is econ.
this is still a philosophical mindset. If somebody doesn't find happiness in being an owner, then they don't gotta be. And if to you they're a fool, if to me they're a fool because they don't want ownership.
No, it's fools
They're
never
not
consider
poor.
it.
You can have
This is somebody
in
who-
an ideal system. It's
you-
restorative.
Hold on.
A restorative capitalism
Hold on.
will lead a group economic
Bro, I've
power.
been owning my own shit
A
for
group
long
economic
fucking
power.
And that's what I'm saying.
They don't
I
have to
don't
run.
but I'm not even happy with the shit.
Absolutely.
All the time I be feeling like, bruh, I'm tired of fucking owning shit. Like every fucking day I be feeling like, man, you know what? I'm gonna close this motherfucker down and just take orders a different
So
way.
practice
or
group
go and do
economics
something
and
else.
get shares, and that's it.
And
And you
I'm-
don't
and-
have to worry about that.
No, that's not it.
That is a way to
It
solve it.
But what about the philosophy that
That's-
less is more and Buddhist monks that fucking don't want anything?
Group
And what
economics
about
is
the
less is
Buddhist
more.
philosophy that's saying like desires are the fucking problem and the desires are what leads to these expectations that make people depressed anyway.
Absolutely.
Like you can't just go and say just because somebody don't own shit they're worthless. That you can't.
Nobody,
said that.
you making crass generalizations like things
Whoa,
nobody
I
said,
didn't
bro.
say
all
that.
about ownership, and if somebody goes and buys Louis Vuitton instead of being an owner of something,
When we say
that's
owner,
foolish.
you're really
I'm
limiting
talking
it to
about group
material.
economic. I'm talking about group economic ownership.
What are you gonna own if it's not material, bro?
I mean, owning my name first and foremost. Owning my culture. Like, so hold on. Listen, I'm about to tell you why.
What
This,
should they have bought instead of Louis Vuitton?
they should have bought some types of books or some types of material to help them really get knowledge itself and understand how this system has operated. I'm saying, bro, at what point, because that's the whole reason for Kwanzaa, right? Kwanzaa is not a holiday. Hold on. Kwanzaa was invented as a response to Christmas becoming a commercialized holiday. It was already pagan and
Yeah,
some
I know it was
bullshit. But it was literally like in
Easter, all
Kwanzaa,
that.
the only people that get gifts are children, and the gifts are educational. You're not just getting a remote control car for you to play with for consumption. We're gonna give you something to better yourself. And then hold on. We're gonna check the values and principles. If you look at Ray Dalio, yes, there is some merit in like saying if you have any type of consciousness, you'll get ran over. Ray Dalio with Bridgewater Investments, who has one of the most successful hedge funds in the world, has a whole book around how principles is how he got his wealth. He's very big on principles and values. Kwanzaa is a value-based holiday. So like with that, I'm saying values and principles are the underpinning because we lack that in our community. We just seek to consume for our own benefit. It doesn't really look at how do we really create, like he's saying, regenerative resources. And in a way, that way we have wealth, not play philosophical wealth. We can literally create a system where
You can also purchase, but to answer the question clearly, he said, what else can you buy other than material capital? You can buy living capital, and if you do that, you can offset taxes on land, apparently nationwide in America. You can also own social capital. That's the people who own Meta.
you could have bought a
You
business.
can own intellectual capital. Those are the individuals who take part in ownership and trademark and patents before they circulate in things such as
There's all
Apple,
kinds of different forms of
Nike,
capital.
etc. You can have a form of experiential capital, and that experience
And
that
travel somewhere,
experience
connect to somebody at a
that
conference.
experience is of high value to an individual who needs to have this information in order to navigate themselves well, and they will pay you for it. There are many ways. Spiritual capital. We can talk about a church.
That's what you said.
We can
Going
talk
to
about
a Buddhist
church.
monastery and going to
We
China
can
to be able
talk
to actually go
about
and
taking
sit with monks and
your
get that
spiritual
experience.
ability to connect and turn that into financial
We have to
capital.
be more conscious.
There, culture capital. Culture capital deals in family. Culture capital deals in language, religion, food, medicine, all based food and medicine based on our genealogy. It's
That's
not
the
about
problem,
what
though.
makes
That's the
them happy.
problem. That's
I'm
the
not
problem.
telling
People are so.
No, you asked
It
me
is a
what
problem because
you said what else can you buy other than things?
Because the happiness is what you just said earlier. It literally
That's
is
a lot
defined and
for me.
designed by a system that most of us have been indoctrinated into. So we think it's happiness. If we get there, you hear rich people say it all the time, like, just like you, I'm actually more unhappy rich. There's more sociopaths, there's more suicides, there's more, all that shit amongst because people are like, it actually sucks. So I'm saying capitalism.
I think we all want the same thing. And I think I understand what you're saying, and I fully agree. Everybody's not an entrepreneur. I do not agree
agree.
with that. I do not
Absolutely.
proliferate that. I think it's irresponsible to do that. However, all I'm saying is that a restorative capitalist, they practice group economics. I operated as a normal capitalist, and I did separatist economics, meaning it was a micro lens on my own silo. Group economics is a macro lens on how the group benefits, leverages, and works together. It's a village concept, and we were all intended to operate in coalition as a village. That is the human nature part of us.
Okay, we got
Come on, conscious conversation. What's up with it?
Hey, this is Bumby.
Bumby, you know you Bumby.
Hey, I love my family too. So I see what the sister and the brother is saying. However, I'm losing it because they keep using this term capitalism. And capitalism is dangerous to the environment. Capitalism is not even natural to who we are as indigenous beings. Because we have capitalism, no matter what type of capitalism there has to be somebody or something that it is exploited for it to truly be successful. Whether you talk about the stock market, whether you talk about spiritual capitalism or whatever of the many forms, somebody is being exploited for somebody to gain a profit.
It's an unbalanced
Whether
relationship.
a small business owner is able to see that themselves immediately or whether it's a large corporation. And I would just like to say that for us to really have something as a community, we have to establish our morals and principles. However, we also have to come to understanding that everybody is not going to have the same morals, principles, or values, and that is okay, and they should not be a part of tribes.
Right.
That's all I really wanted to say.
Indeed.
Right.
Thank you for your addition,
Yeah, thanks,
Queen.
Princess.
I want to ask B, Bubby, one question is, when you went to these different countries, how did you get there?
He's so petty. He gonna keep talking about the
He
what?
said, how'd you get there when you went to
You
the
bugging,
I
man.
traveled, oh my God.
He's so petty.
Off the border at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was on a Greyhound bus because it is cheaper to actually go to where I was going in Mexico to cross the border itself. And then we took an actual Uber to an airport that was like 30 minutes away. And then we flew like 7 hours.
So for instance, so when you
That's
go to the
innovation.
Greyhound bus, which is a widely used chain that is ran by capitalists, that's one thing. When you use an Uber, that's a widely used chain that's ran by capitalists. And then we go on an airplane, that's also a capitalist. We all did
But I'm saying people, yes we do, but those were innovators and people who were like, I need to get somewhere. What if I was to find somebody, my neighbor, and pay them to take me instead of a regular taxi? Look, I want to get here, but there's no bus lines to go across the country. Like, why don't we have buses to go in the neighborhood? Why can't we go across? People were looking at solving problems.
You're not gonna get away from like working with somebody who was a capitalist.
And I'm saying it's just the balance. That's all we were saying is don't get extreme with it.
All that one last thing is, how can you pay your bills and everything that you do? Like, for instance, like if you are against capitalism, that means that you're going to sell goods for the same price that you bought them. And how are you going to pay your bills? How you have any lion's share of money to pay overages and everything that you get that you sell for the same price you got?
What if you didn't have to have money in the equation?
You can't.
Ridiculous.
I'm about to have to ride out on y'all.
Right.
You crazy.
The same thing. Who's doing that, bro?
Crazy.
No, I agree with you. I just want to be right.
I just want to be
You
right.
bugging, man.
I love
You
you,
bugging.
It's the honesty for me.
Indeed.
Yeah. When you went to Saloon and all that.
Like, I was literally in the jungle with the Mayans and stuff like that. There is a different economic system that these people live that they exist and they don't need capitalism. It's the capitalism that comes in and literally starts
Exploits.
families and yes.
Yes.
Society. So everybody, I don't have
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I'm going to make money to live and or I can't just feel like because that's what the system is. However, if we get some type of ownership, not culture ownership, because honestly, culture right now is a scam, especially how Black people or African Americans are identified with their culture. Even though they don't talk about Kwanzaa, to me, even Kwanzaa is scammy. It's very scammy, especially when people create
I respect that.
It's all pagan.
I don't even celebrate Kwanzaa, neither do I. But what I'm saying is, we have to get back to nature. And when you start to exist within nature, there's no room for capitalism to exist, especially when you start getting mindful.
Wait a minute. So you telling me that when you go take from the earth, what do you give it back? Like when you go take a coconut off the tree, what do you give it back?
You can put the seeds back in the ground.
I'm only asking the person because I know you are one of nature.
I compost no matter where I am in America. My parents taught me a way of life that
Compost.
No,
Okay.
but
That's real.
Yeah, no, compost is
Because it
fair.
makes more food.
How
Yeah.
does that personal, wait. How does that personal tree benefit from you taking it from it?
But
It
doesn't-
produced fruit.
It
It's like you didn't take from
doesn't
it.
have to be the transaction of with that tree.
And you didn't take from it, it falls off the tree. It's going to fall off anyway.
So Jeff Bezos taking off his own tree and then replanting somewhere else in the compost pile of providing jobs and also donating.
No, he's like, let me control all the coconut trees and try to corner the coconut tree market. That's what he is.
To be a billionaire, you have to exploit
Try to corner shit.
people,
Monopoly.
materials, whatever. The materials can
You got monopolized.
exploit those.
I need to eat dinner.
What are you going to eat for dinner?
Pay your people whatever.
I need some food for real. It's about to be everything.
Let's
got to
go
be
eat
cold.
dinner because I'm hungry.
We gonna
I
wrap.
actually didn't plan on this.
But
You gotta get some food.
I gotta eat, and it's 9:30, and it's dang.
conversation, bro. Like we're real
Thank you so much for calling.
right.
Thank you, sis.
Thank you for calling.
Peace, peace.
But my point to you guys, man, just because I don't know if I made it clear. Only thing that I'm saying is I don't disagree with ownership. All right. I would, if it was up to me, yes, I would be an owner of something. All right. But I don't think that it's the only way.
Agreed.
And that was my only point
Agreed.
that I was saying. Like, just because somebody say, hey, I'm going to blow my money on this. Yes, I might look at them and say, I wouldn't do that shit.
Right.
But if that's what they want to do and that's what makes them happy, and if I gave them the choice to say, bro, you can either own this or you can just kick it and go and do this and that, hey, man, I wouldn't do it. But if they want to do it and that's what they want to do, then I really can't get caught up with trying to just...
But that capitalism, do what thy will.
But
That's the whole
it's
mindset.
not about getting caught up.
Well, the,
Y'all put it down.
no,
No, because I feel like nobody has heard the point. Like, because I'm such a solutions thinker as far as like feasibility.
You gotta get eat. It's 9:30.
Feasibility
Shut
even
up, close.
considers structures that make it plausible to help. If there aren't structures in place that make it plausible to do anything, none of it even matters anyway. We're all just retorting
but
at this
everything
point.
ain't for everybody, though.
Here's how everybody
I
can
hear what you're
benefit
saying.
from
I
it
hear what
though.
you're saying.
Here's how everybody and all people can benefit from entrepreneurs. Is an entrepreneur who practices group economics. Group economics doesn't mean that Peanut does shit with my business, but group economics means that we understand by corralling all resources and creating a mutually beneficial network of all those a part of this group partnership organization, which they call GPOs at hospitals, and they might call something else in dealing in the real estate world. Nepotism. Everybody's operating in groups, but the people who lied to us and told us you don't do money with your family. Now that's a whole nother conversation that I'm not about to get on. But capitalism can be positive. It's actually critical because capitalism supports sustainability, and sustainability supports process. And process sustains innovation. All of those things are necessary when looking at population growth, land mass, and water availability. Based on what that is determines just how sustainable we should be. But it doesn't negate the fact we have to be as regenerative. Because regenerative puts in place the necessary things like our morals, our values, our traditions that help us sustain forever if we work together.
I would agree, and listen, like for instance, right? The person who created these modern innovations, who capitalized off their idea, we all benefit from that. And I think we all are in agreement when it comes to that, right? Such as, for instance, to go out there and personally pick cotton. We don't need slaves no more. They have machinery to do it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, innovation. And we from Dayton, where so much innovation has taken place
So
and
also,
recreated
like,
everywhere.
one of these big outfits is John Deere. Right? I
Absolutely.
made a ton of money off John Deere and socks.
Absolutely.
Right?
Because it's basic. But here's my thing. In closing, I believe which I think what she's saying, I'm piggybacking off of by saying when she says group economics,
Mansplaining for the people.
I believe that she's saying that, like, I always use the quote of Facebook. I'm not expecting everybody to be Mark Zuckerberg, but it was 100 employees down that became millionaires in Facebook. They didn't have to be Zuckerberg. If some people became billionaires, 10, 20, 30 employees down.
Mutual mission.
And so I'm saying if we don't want to be owners, the fact of the matter is 95% of all black businesses are sole proprietorships. That's my whole premise with Trephouse. Until we get into this mindset of I got to bring somebody else into my company, and I have to make it beneficial for them to be incentivized from a capitalistic pursuit to work as hard in my shit as I do. So let me give them 10% equity if they really gonna come in and make this a firebrand. They're not getting it just because, you know, I'm trying to put it in somebody's black's hands. You got to come and bring the value, but in exchange for that value, let's get rich together.
And value's not always sweat equity either.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm on with capitalism.
But know that value's not always sweat equity either. It doesn't mean they work for you. It means that you're connected to a partnership of entities that support the flow of lifestyle based on what your company needs, based on what your family needs, based on what your neighbor needs. We know we can barter. That's the entire barter system concept.
Truly.
People, planet, profit are the trifecta of every economy. Profit was created by humans. Profit's not bad, but profit has certainly been perverse into many things that are negative.
Abundance is profit.
It is.
Abundance is profit.
It is. I think
Profit is bad.
There's a fine line between profit and robbing.
Absolutely.
Still,
that's what we basically saying is that it gets blurred so quick.
Is immoral.
But they gonna say, I mean, but we gotta manage the system and we got employees,
so bad.
Yeah, it's more.
But they'll justify it.
It's not right.
They'll justify like we need it.
I agree with what you're saying.
But that's why I respect what you represent. Exactly what you're in a way going against. But it's interesting because I mean you have a entity that is a community pillar.
Exactly.
You are employing those. I don't know if they're your family. I don't know if they're not your family, but they're certainly your community. But they are your community, and because
they're not your relatives, but they are your family.
Yeah. But because of that, he had to help me see bigger. I've been blessed to go far and go high, but you know what? It doesn't mean anything, and there's no impact if you don't go deep and you don't get to the root of the real solution.
Don't go together. You don't go together.
And we don't go together.
Absolutely.
We don't go together. They're fine with us operating as separatists.
People that I've never met before have all came in and been a part of our T-shirt king.
Right.
Absolutely.
That
makes you a pillar. Like that's why that producer comes with that weight.
Right.
But at the
what up, G?
Peace, God.
My brother.
Okay.
Listen, I'm
hungry. I'm hungry.
This day, and then they know stuff be closing.
That by 10 o'clock. That's why I'm like, we love y'all.
Yeah, we love. Man.
Wait. We can't leave until we all in agreement, man. So are we going to agree that capitalism is a necessary evil? Agreements.
I mean,
It has value. It has detriment. It's balance. It's all about balance.
Agreed.
I disagree because
We enjoy how we say we get.
The word necessary implies
the language.
Hold up. The word necessary implies that without it, it must be.
We all use capitalism despite that it's evil. Agreed.
I don't like calling capitalism evil either. No, I like the word convenient. When I think of capitalism, I think
you make the statement. You make the statement.
We can all agree that capitalism facilitates convenience.
It stopped there.
And innovation.
At the detriment.
It does though.
The active contradiction.
Yeah, there we go.
How about that?
It's human and it's design.
Group economics is essential.
Yes, you can agree with that.
Is essential.
Mandatory.
Group economics is essential. Group that we gotta trust our brothers and we gotta trust our sisters and we gotta give them grace and we gotta work with them and we gotta be patient and we gotta be long suffering because it might not really work until I'm like almost dead, but that's cool. At least now it can work after I go.
All right. So let me do my thing right now, right?
What?
Since we all are in agreement, that means God is present. Thank you guys for tuning into the Let's Be Podcast, aka the Godcast.
Man, y'all in the book of Akaba. Ellie, y'all, man, get that boy. Number one on Amazon for about a month straight. Keep going.
Yes, sir.
We out of here.
Keep going, keep growing.
Keep
Keep blowing, keep showing.
Hey.
Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Yes, God. That was beautiful.
Man, you
Bye.
ever queen.
Likewise, God.